For those streaming, how's that, Blake? Yeah, okay. For those streaming, getting this on video, I had to bring my camera up, which is nothing because I don't have a camera. That's what I was just telling the rest of the world about, that you can see me, or you will be able to, because I've got my phone with me today. And that is my camera. There it is. You're seeing the corner of my desktop. So, yeah, we don't need that. Coming up on 11:05 or 11:06, we're going to be joined by the Tan Talk Network, I think. I'm hoping. Because it's Friday, and that's what I just was telling a neighbor who is the head of the county emergency response team and has recruited me accordingly to be a part of that because of what I can do, what I'm doing right now, getting on the air and letting people know what can happen, what's not happening, what would happen, so on and so forth, in the event of emergencies like Milton, like Helene, and anything else that's coming down the line next. That's what we're going to be talking about today. When emergencies like that politicize, and we'll probably throw some bunch of other things in if we get through this fast enough. But when emergencies politicize, did Biden and Harris call DeSantis? Did he know or not know that it was them calling? I've got my opinions based on firsthand experience, because as I've told you, it'll be 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I don't even remember. They're all running together. That DeSantis stood in my very driveway and told me I was going to get help. Some of that help was already there in the various trailers that set up what they called comfort stations. But nobody's come to this door like they said they would to help me gut this place. And now my dogs and I are coughing and sneezing and doing other kinds of great things because of the mold that's built up in this house that's got to be gutted. So where are we at time-wise? All right. We should be joined by the Tan Talk Network, WTAN, WDCF. Welcome to everybody in the Tampa Bay. And let's bring in the rest of the crew, or one of them. Host of the Homeless Conservative, Blake Fisher, joins us every Friday. Host of the Daily Crypto News, Matt Deemer, also the Democratic candidate for Congress in the 7th District of Ohio, is on Democrat Standard Time. Also late. Do I sound like I'm echoing to you?
No, you sound a little stuffed up, but
okay. Well,
I don't think that has anything to do with anything other than your head.
Yeah. Well, there is that.
But I don't hear an echo. No, it sounds good. You sound good.
Okay. Good. So yeah, that's what I was getting to. To answer your question, Blake, in the chat. That's what I was getting to. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I got to do that too. There we go. That's what I was getting to, or alluding to, in the chat when you asked about
Kamala calling out Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got opinions on this too.
Go ahead, get us started.
Well, I mean, here's what I don't like. There's some expectation of hurricanes becoming a thing that get, I don't want to say politicized, because it's maybe the wrong term, because I think that it's fair to judge governors specifically on their response to things like hurricanes when they live in an area that has hurricanes, or pick your natural disasters. It's wildfires in California, it's tornadoes in Oklahoma, it's snowstorms or whatever, it's mudslides. There's all these different things that you're going to have in different states. But Florida and New Jersey and a bunch of states on the East Coast deal with hurricanes specifically. And so we've seen people get judged based on their responses to that, which I think is fair. As far as like, how did they manage the lead up to it? How did they manage the follow up to it? I personally think Ron DeSantis has done a hell of a job in every hurricane that's hit. I know you don't like the guy, but I think he does a good job.
You just proved to me that you don't listen during the week. Shame on you.
I'm trying to make up enough content for all of next week and this week. So all I've been doing is making content this week. So I've not listened to any of my podcast.
I have said
yeah.
that, and as you know, you're correct. We're not friends.
Yeah.
Not you and me, but
and I get that you disagree with him, and I disagree with him on a lot of stuff too. I thought, he was not my guy even in the Republican primary.
I was just talking to a neighbor of mine who I'm going to talk about again shortly, not an hour ago, about that very issue. I don't agree with the fact that I believe his practices as a governor are very fascist, are not in the spirit of keeping Florida free. And this guy that I was just talking to is very conservative, by the way, and has the same feelings about DeSantis as I do. But we both agree, and now the three of us agree, that when it comes to, excuse me, something that
I get it. It's fine.
In this, yeah, something that we 11. The time was just 11 hours, 11 minutes, 11 seconds on the 11th.
Oh, look at that!
Tickets, people.
You gotta get your wish in.
Right. So how is
but you basically agree he does a good job at not like I think that's what a governor is supposed to do, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, and I think Ron DeSantis. Here's my overall opinion of Ron DeSantis. If I had to sum it up in a sentence, I think he's actually very good at governing, and he's trying to be like Trump in a lot of the stuff that he does politicize and stuff. And I think that's foolish because I think that I think if you just looked at his record of being a governor for the most part, if you take away especially the stuff where the Stop Woke Act and stuff that was clearly there were some First Amendment issues in there for sure. I totally agree with that and stuff. And so I think that was foolish because I think it's detrimental to what he's doing as a governor. Because I think by all accounts, he does a good job at just the blocking and tackling of running the executive branch in Florida. When it comes to the boring stuff, the problem is people don't pay attention to the boring stuff. I get that. That's politics. But all that being said, I think it's pretty clear this week that Kamala Harris is the one that's been trying to insert herself into the disaster relief, and Trump, to be fair, both of them, because what Trump is doing is politicizing it in a crazy conspiracy way by saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying the Jews can control the weather and that they set this thing on the path to hit Republican counties and not Democratic counties. And I mean, it's insane.
It's Florida. Give me a Democratic county.
Well, but she's talking about all the way into North Carolina and all this kind of stuff. She's crazy. My point is Republicans have gone all in on the conspiracy theory side of this. I don't pay any attention to this stuff right now because here's the truth. In the moment, it's kind of the fog of war when a hurricane hits, especially one as bad as Helene. The North Carolina damage is just catastrophic. It's so bad. Right. And in the moment, you've got FEMA. We know FEMA has done good jobs and bad jobs on disaster responses in the past. They're the federal government. And so I tend to believe that there's going to be some ineptitude. There's going to be some slowness. There's going to be some bad response stuff. I don't believe anything in the moment, though, because I think it takes clearing of the problem on the ground right now to be able to look back and go, what worked, what didn't work, and what do we need to learn from? Okay. Mm-hmm. That's at the state level. That's at the federal level.
Yep.
Donald Trump is trying to politicize this right now against Democrats. And I understand, I get that it's politics. You're a few weeks from a national election, and this could be something, the FEMA response to Katrina was atrocious and it absolutely hurt George W. Bush. Okay.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Now I just don't think that we should be looking at that in the moment.
Story.
Yeah.
Let me tell you my FEMA story. I knew the guy who was the deputy administrator for FEMA, a Secret Service retiree who came in there and essentially was the one responsible for making FEMA the badass agency that it is today. And a lot of people are probably saying, "Oh, they only gave me $750," and this.
But that's not. See, that's also Republican bullcrap. That was right now we're giving you $750 to be able to do things like pay bills, get water, blah blah blah. That's not.
My son, my 19-year-old son, my 19 year and 11-month-old son got his $750 2 days ago.
Yeah. And that's not, I think
to that over the weekend.
it's just really important to note that like Donald Trump and MAGA people are trying to make that paint that as that's all the money that all these hurricane victims are going to get. No, that is like hey, we're getting this to you right now to help you with problems right now. That is not the total money. That's not insurance. That's not any of the disaster stuff. That is just like, hey, you need money right now to probably buy food and water and pay bills and things like that and clean stuff up and like buy a chainsaw, whatever the heck you need to use it for. But so I don't like the politicization of either stuff, but it's pretty clear that that like both sides are doing it, and it bothers me because there's real victims in this. And
here's my take on the both sides thing. Donald Trump is not getting a single damn briefing on any of the serious stuff. No former president gets that without the authority of the sitting president.
Well, he does at this point for national security stuff, but not for this kind of stuff. He does for national security stuff right now, but not other stuff, right?
He does. Bill Clinton does not get that. Barack Obama does
not. No, not because he's a former president, but because he's the presidential candidate. Don't he? And I mean, Harris is getting them anyway. Not yet.
No, because they still haven't. That was just last week's news. They still have not set up, which was supposed to be done by, I forget which one, September 1st or October 1st. They were both late. Harris just did it. They were supposed to be set up with GSA, General Services Administration, on the locations and the office space and the memorandum of understanding and cooperation between them and the Biden administration on how all those briefings take place. I was there. I stood right outside the door when Barack Obama was getting that as the candidate, not as the
but you're saying Trump's not getting that right now?
No.
That seems crazy to me.
Hello, don't you think you would want to put that into the GSA so you can start getting those actual briefings? So when you talk about politicizing,
that he doesn't care. I mean,
he's talking about going to Georgia to get he's not getting squat. He might be taken through a walkthrough because he's Donald Trump and the local people in that county like him.
Well, right, but I mean, I agree that like presidential candidates don't get briefings on everything going on in the country, but I think he's not getting national security briefings right now.
No, that's why because he's not under agreement with GSA.
That's insane.
That's where that happens. You just don't sit in a parking lot and say, "Hey, here's what Israel's doing."
Well, of course, yeah. No, you've got to be a secure area. Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. I'm just saying it's crazy to me that that's not happening.
Get established in 10 minutes.
Yeah, but my problem with Kamala Harris specifically,
just one problem. Yeah. Why are you even considering voting for that asset?
Well, I'm not.
Now, the thing that people don't take into consideration, and this isn't me defending the left, this is being a realist. Kamala Harris is still the sitting vice president.
Yeah, so she's getting him no matter what.
She's got another job to do.
Yeah.
And that's Joe Biden with managing something like this. Can he be doing a little bit more than she is?
Of course.
Yes.
He's the actual president.
And that's the one who actually talked on the phone with DeSantis.
Well, right. And that's my problem is that like in the DeSantis speech, because they were trying to press him on this in that press conference. And he was like, look, guys, I don't want to do politics. We just dealt with one hurricane. We got another one coming this way. But he didn't. I mean, like, look at the answer to that. And it was great. And what he said was, look.
No, it wasn't great. It looked like the people that think.
Do you want to play it? Play it. We'll play it. I'll give you the link.
If you have it, play it.
I don't know if you can get my audio though. Can you?
I should be able to.
Okay, let's see.
If you do it in another browser than what you're using to join us with. But my point about that was they were pressing him because Harris and Biden both, according to my sources at the White House, had been calling him.
Well, and he said he's talked to Biden. He said he's gotten everything he asked from Biden.
He got his ass chewed by the press.
Right. No, but he said that
after he got his ass chewed by the press because he stood in my driveway and made some smart ass comment about FEMA and shook his head like he does, like a bobblehead doll.
Well, FEMA's different, but like in the press conference,
FEMA's not different. FEMA. Biden says FEMA, get down there. FEMA goes.
Right, but my point
I was telling you about before.
My point is, in that speech, he said, "I've dealt with these under Trump and Biden, and they've been nothing but wonderful and helpful, both of them." Like he gave Biden all the credit. He said he's been great, but Kamala Harris has never called for one of these ever. And all of a sudden, if she is calling, I wasn't aware of it. And furthermore, it's not really her job. I mean, like, this is me saying, as the like, I would not. Maybe this isn't everyone. I am not going to begrudge Kamala Harris for not calling or trying to help because she's the vice president. It's not her job unless Joe Biden asked her to go do something. And so she's never done it before. She's clearly trying to do politics. She's trying to inject herself into something. She has no constitutional authority to do anything in Florida for a hurricane relief.
Oh, stop.
She doesn't.
Constitutional crap.
She hasn't done. Okay, then why hasn't she called for any of the other ones until she's running for president? Kamala is the one inserting itself into this situation. It's not. It's not DeSantis. It's not Biden. It's not Trump.
Has not called herself for.
What?
What do you know that she has or has not called herself into in previous emergencies?
According to DeSantis, he says she's never called us before for any of these other things. I've seen no.
Oh, because that's a reliable source.
Well, do you have a source that says she has called during another hurricane? My point
I just told you. I got off the phone with people at the White House right now.
No, not during this one. During another one.
But there are people in the press corps that have been with her since she's been there.
I think this is a stupid political fight. I think Ron DeSantis is right here by saying, like, I'm not going to talk about this. He's like, I'm going to praise Biden. I'm going to praise Trump. When I've had to deal with them in the past, it's been great. And he said, they've given me everything I asked for in this one. If we need more stuff, we'll ask for more. And they've been totally wonderful.
Hold on. I agree with that. But to say I didn't know they were calling like he did earlier this week.
But like my point is, what does that matter? So he didn't say they. He said Kamala. He never said he didn't hear from Biden.
Yes, he did.
When did he say that?
Earlier this week.
All I've ever seen is that he's talked to Biden. And Biden has praised him, by the way.
What did Biden do?
They
both, once they finally talked, they both got the politics out.
And it's been reciprocal. Biden said himself, Ron DeSantis is doing a great job. We've spoken. Yes. Everything's great. We're giving him everything he needs. They both said it.
This is the problem with the right, whether it's MAGA or not MAGA. They don't finish the sentence. Biden says, we've both spoken. Finally.
I don't have the finally quote, but okay. I mean,
they didn't speak last week. They didn't speak week before last when Biden was trying to get a hold of him. Biden was not
I've not seen that report that Biden tried to call DeSantis and he didn't.
Read the newspaper.
Show me the quote. Like, show me the thing. Show me the news source that says Biden was calling DeSantis, because I haven't seen that. I'm not saying it's not true.
Right. I've always got to do your homework for you.
I'm just saying I've got is quotes and videos of Biden and DeSantis both praising each other and saying each other did yes. So I've gotten everything I need from Biden. Biden saying DeSantis is doing a good job. In fact, to a degree that kind of throws Harris under the bus, in my opinion, which I think we can talk about more about how Biden is actually hampering her elections.
He's not hampering, but
I think he is.
Go back to talking about the issues. I got this one, and that's fine.
No, I think he's maybe it's all coincidence. It seems like he's trying to cement a legacy here that is different than what it's going to be. And
what is his legacy going to be?
Well, like, for example, so that we kind of briefly chatted before the thing. So so Axios releases a thing that's like the disappearing Bidens and talks about how he's just off the scene entirely. We don't know what he's doing. Is he even in charge? All this kind of stuff. Within an hour of that, he does that first presser in the press room that he's not done his entire presidency. And there's no way that that's not his ego getting bruised, because Axios writes a piece about it's too much of a coincidence that he does the first time ever in his presidency, goes out there and starts answering questions, and he's going against what Kamala Harris is trying to do. He knows she needs to distance herself from him. And in the past, presidents generally, George W. Bush,
that's not helping.
No, I think so. Here's what I think doesn't help. Like, George W. Bush was unpopular enough at the end of his term that there were several people running down ballot, or even McCain, that were like, hey, I don't actually want to do events with you because you might drag me down. And you know what he did? He was like, that's fine. I don't care. It's politics. It doesn't hurt my feelings. She needs to do that with Biden right now because he's so unpopular and people want change. People don't like him or Trump.
And but you know what? That's going to be, I think, when things like this, his effort to reach out.
Yeah, but I think that, but he's hurting her like right now. He's not helping.
Hold on, stop. Matt's pointing, and by the way, Matt, welcome. Sorry, we don't mean to be ignoring you, But Matt Deemer's
Well,
here
I want Matt's opinion. Matt, do you think Biden is helping or hurting Harris right now?
to get your own show.
I'm just curious because he's a Democrat. I mean, I obviously want Kamala Harris to win.
Stop. The douchebag that's in the trolling in the comments. The shirt makes your chest look fat. Yeah, it does. I haven't been into if you'd actually start following the show.
You don't feed the trolls.
Opening up your mouth.
Yeah, we're not reading the troll.
You don't feed the trolls.
We don't feed the trolls.
I don't even look at the chat during this, guys. That's how I avoid it.
And that's why I have man boobs right now. I'm also sitting on a stool that's too tall for the desk that I'm at.
Yeah, give Yergs a break, troll guy.
Over.
House got hit by a hurricane 2 weeks ago.
You got and 2 days ago.
Yeah.
You got go back to yesterday's episode and watch the last 10 or 15 minutes. And
guys, can we just not talk about this guy, please?
Yeah.
Then why'd you ask?
I asked you something in private chat, and I wanted you to.
What happens with this?
Yeah, I wanted you to address that on privately. That's why it's a private chat.
I'll get something private about this show. This guy tried to jump in. I think he's British. I don't even know. I don't know what former con member means. I told him to man up and put his real name on his username. Now, where'd he go?
He called him out.
And he can't do that. See, here it is. There we go. You all know, you all work for King Charles.
I think is he talking about like the king?
That King Charles. Yeah, that King Charles. Yeah,
I don't know if he's unaware, but we fought a war like 250 years ago.
That's what I told him yesterday. You don't see us sniffing the king's ass.
Yeah, we don't like kings around here.
Which is why Trump isn't as popular as
half of the Republican Party really likes having a dictator king kind of thing, but I'm not a fan of it. But I am curious. Oh, Matt disappeared. Matt, I mean, like, where do you think the race is right now as far as like, is Biden helping or hurting? Because I read stuff on.
I mean, it's obvious Biden is going to hurt because that's why he dropped out of the race.
Yeah,
he had to drop because he was unpopular. So if he stays out of it, if he comes in and he gets involved in any way, it's hurting.
So I mean, do you think that is?
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't?
No, he's still the president, and that was the comment that I made about DeSantis, who didn't know that Biden was calling him. You just got your bitch slap ass slapped twice, really 3 times this year because Debbie devastated the Big Bend earlier in the season. Now Helene did it again, and this TikTok meme and whatever else is going around saying that L, whatever the L story was or the L name was, which is before M, was going to go back to the Big Bend again, which isn't true. But for as much as you've been decked by hurricanes this year, why have you not called the White House? And that is the thing about DeSantis that I don't like, is that he too often does this, we've got this, I'm good.
Well, I think that works in Florida. Florida knows how to handle hurricanes better than FEMA does.
No. And that's what I was getting at earlier before Matt joined. When I sat in on briefings. Wow.
Well, like I said, I don't want to debate. I don't want to debate the hurricane response right now because I think we're in the fog of it. But I do want to say, like, Biden going on The View and saying Kamala Harris, we are in lockstep. That's not his presidential duty. That's hurting her campaign. And that's what I'm saying. I think is bad. You don't think that's bad?
I'm going to finish my thought on FEMA from 10 minutes ago first.
That's fine. I mean, I'm just saying, I just feel like we don't know enough right this moment. But yeah, I mean, I think FEMA's done better than they did 20 years ago.
What do you want to know? I'm here. We've got gas stations that still don't have gas that Ron DeSantis said would never be empty. When that happened, I forget if it was for Ian or last year for Adalia, and everybody tried to evacuate and couldn't because there was a mass rush on gas. I've got to get the other cameras operational because as much as I turn this phone down, it never goes totally mute. As much as he said, there would be that won't happen again. It happened Sunday. People weren't even, all the people weren't even told to leave yet. and the entire Nature Coast and Tampa Bay was out of gas. Fortunately, I found like one of the small, crappy gas stations that I just went to, not even knowing we were approaching that level yet. I said, well, I got a couple extra bucks. Instead of putting my budget in, I'll fill up. Wow. Am I glad I did? So for shooting his mouth off about how he knows how to manage a hurricane, and to his credit, there are certain things with it that he does do well, like bringing the other folks that should be involved to the party. Not only did I take the governor on a tour of my house, the outside of my property, but I took county commissioners and the sheriff himself. There is no bigger gun-carrying dude in any Florida county than the elected sheriff. And they were right here with me. I got a little stuffed dog that Chris Nocco handed me personally. And that was a couple of those shout-outs I told my neighbor I would do today. These local/county, when I say local, that's all-encompassing with county, city, smaller towns that have their own police, etc. They're amazing down here, Blake. You're absolutely right. They do know how to manage a crisis like this. Not just hurricanes, but hurricanes bring all other sorts of weather with them. Tornadoes.
Yeah, they had like 44 or something in Tampa.
Which is one type of... They had over 70 tornadoes confirmed.
Yeah, the last I checked it was 45, and I was like, that's a lot. I mean, I realize these things just spin up, and
there were 70 confirmed tornadoes, 126 tornado warnings. And then there's the flooding, the storm surge. But that's not even the only type of flooding. Then there's the flash flooding caused by too much rain. All of which because of one storm system. But they're all, especially for insurance purposes, different types of emergencies. And I'm not going to say there's nobody better, because that's a very disrespectful thing to say to other first responders that do this a couple times a month from June to August and later, as we're seeing now. But to say that FEMA doesn't know what they're doing is too much of a... And I don't remember exactly what you said.
Oh, no, I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing. I'm saying Florida governor...
exactly what you did.
Florida governors going back decades have always had to deal with these. And so, I'm just saying the state government of Florida knows how to do it.
FEMA. But during the Bush administration, when he put a guy in place that was previously in charge of horse races or horse shows...
Right.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And what I was telling you, I didn't get to finish, a former Secret Service colleague who passed away earlier this year to stomach cancer. My buddy Steve Woodard retired from the Secret Service, took an SES position with FEMA to be like their number two. And he is essentially the guy that post-Bush administration made FEMA the badass agency that it is.
Yeah, and they've certainly had a better record since Katrina.
Oh,
although, there's always problems.
The briefings I'm telling you about was his every day 8 a.m. briefing, where he went into a room. God, it was clearly one of the biggest boardrooms I've ever seen. Think of, if you want to liken it to something in Hollywood, think of the TV show 24.
Oh, I love that show.
And all the spy gadgets that they had just at the touch of a button, literally. With the computer systems and such, that was there. Everybody at the main table had a monitor in front of them that was like a small monitor / big iPad, that they were seeing whatever information was being presented by whoever was speaking at the time. And then there were seats all around the back for those people's assistants or people like me who just flat out didn't rank to get a seat at the table. And then there were monitors the size of damn near the size of an IMAX TV theater surrounding the room with that same information. And they could split it up and say, okay, over here on screen number 2 is this, and here's what's on screen 3, and yada, yada, yada. Point being, between that and September 11th, when I was a duty agent for Philadelphia, and because I had a landline telephone, and I got sent home that day to sit on the edge of my bed, monitor various. I'm going to turn this camera off because
do what you got to do.
There's an echo that it's causing and a loop and so on. You know what I look like. It's not pretty, but it's here. I went home and sat on the edge of my bed on September 11th and talked to spy agencies that I promise you don't know that we have. Forget about the CIA and company. And one of them, and I can say this because this is more overt, is NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or whatever it actually is. Their satellites and what they can do with watching a storm system like this, that's where Major League Baseball and the NFL and the NHL and NBA and whoever else uses instant replay needs to get their cameras from. God damn, is that sexy stuff.
Yerks, have you seen the Waffle House like weather center stuff?
They used the Waffle House in my town for that photo. That's Hudson.
Isn't that crazy? Well, because they've got a headquarter in Georgia, I guess, that like FEMA actually pays attention to, because Waffle House has such a pretty their response generally will correctly predict the damage level in an area based on.
I shouldn't say that's Hudson because I don't know what photo you're looking at.
I'm looking at the one with I think it was in Georgia because it was Governor Kemp was there from Georgia because their headquarters is in Georgia, and so like there was a picture the other day of him at the storm center, and I had never heard that before. That like FEMA, legitimately partners with them because they've got such a good.
It's I forget. It's the Waffle House factor or the Waffle House something.
The Waffle House Index is what they call it.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. That's it.
I had not heard this till the other day, and I was it makes sense. You've got a 24-hour diner that are all over the country, and so you track things like storms and stuff to see if you got to shut them down or put wait staff out of harm's way and stuff. So anyway, it is an interesting thing I would have not have had on my bingo card that Waffle House is very accurately tracking storms.
I don't know what that. Again, he rambles.
Yeah, we don't have to.
No, I do because I like busting his balls. But there was one that's been floating around that says something like, "Yeah, this one closed us" or something like that, to show what level they're talking about. That's from Hudson. That's the one.
Okay, yeah, because the article I read was leading
4 miles from my house.
And it was like, look, according to Waffle House, it will be bad damage because of the restaurants they're closing in the lead up to it. Because I guess, Waffle House doesn't just take every warning, because that kind of goes back to what we talked about last week, how if you overwarn for hurricanes, sometimes people don't pay enough attention to those warnings. Right. It sounds like now some people are paying attention to the Waffle House if they're closing or not. Because basically, if the Waffle House is closing, you're like, we got to get out of here. So if the Waffle House says it's going to be bad, they're not closing for no reason, kind of thing. So interesting. And this stuff is so.
I want to get Matt back involved in this because he thinks that Joe is hurting Kamala. And I don't know if he's looking at porn now or something, but he's got something.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. What was your question, sir?
Because you're not busy enough. Well, first of all, how is Pennsylvania and New York from last week when we lost you?
Is that where you were going?
Oh, I was in New York City. No, it was great, guys. Thanks. Yeah. I went to New York City for my girlfriend's 40th.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, wow, very cool.
So we took a trip to what Cleveland is the real city. So we call New York City the countryside. So we went took a trip into the country.
I love it.
And relaxed.
Very cool.
And saw the bumpkins down there and.
Yeah,
those crazy bumpkins in
exactly. And it was a good time.
Any good food highlights? That's my favorite thing.
You've been following the Biden administration obviously as close as anybody. what role, if any, does Vice President Harris have in emergency management like this? And is she jumping in and visiting sites and trying to call DeSantis and so on to get her name in the newspaper? Or is she doing her job as vice president?
I think that it's. I don't know which one of you said it. To be honest with you, I think it's directed by Biden, and if Biden is asking her to call and get involved and take up leadership, then that's her. If not, I personally think that it's just ejecting herself politically. And DeSantis, I don't know, unless she brings something to the table in operations that's directed by Biden and the administration. I don't know why DeSantis would take her call. I mean, she is the vice president, so yeah, hi, how you doing? But
Yeah.
like, what is she doing? Like, I'm working with FEMA. I'm working with the president.
Yeah.
I'm working with my staff. Like, go campaign.
That was my.
And to be perfectly honest, I think it's the same thing with Trump.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, Trump is, if Trump calls and says, hey, let's go down there, and it's like it's just for campaigning. Like, you're not
injecting
FEMA. You're not.
Right. I'm not absolving Trump, because Trump is actually doing worse, because I think Trump is actually spreading the conspiracy theories about the FEMA response and all that stuff. So Trump's behavior is worse. I just don't think either one of them need to be injecting themselves into it. Now, to be fair, if they didn't, like if Kamala doesn't call or say anything in a press conference or something, people are going to say, oh, well, she doesn't even care about it. So like, I realize that it's a delicate balance. It just seems like the thing to do would be to go on TV.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between calling and I think calling and just expressing your concerns and saying, hey, we're here if you need anything. Yes. And then literally, with the amount of campaign and support and funds and people she has there, I would, and look, I know personally the Florida Dems and the young Dems there, and a lot of people that are running for office or working on a lot of people who've left, they have a little army down there. And if she would want to like organize that field team to help with efforts, I think that would be a lot more admirable and actually better PR than just making phone calls. And
totally agree, Matt. That would be the smarter move would be to go on TV and say, hey, I've called the governor's office. He's very busy. I haven't actually talked to him, but I just left a message to say, hey, if y'all need anything, I can help. I've actually got campaign staff down there that if you need help delivering,
I got some finance. I got some finance down there. Honestly, that's just earned media at that point. Just like, hey, I got finances that I can divert to some efforts and help everybody out. Some hotels. Just let me know and we can help out. But take care of it.
But leave it in DeSantis's hands to say 100%. That, like, hey, it's his state, and if he needs help, I'm happy to help the people of Florida. But if he doesn't, and he and FEMA have it, that's great too. Happy to help. That's the right way to do it. I don't want to.
And I won't. I'm not going to defend any governor or not governor about how they're doing it, because first of all, I'm not there. I don't know the role, and I've never been through a hurricane.
No, but it does.
But at the same time, I think we've all had our own little crises or had stuff that when we're busy, the last thing you need is people to first. Number one is you miss all kinds of stuff. You'll miss emails, you'll miss text messages, you'll miss all that stuff. People are trying to get a hold of you. A lot of people have things to say, not only from citizens to people of your staff to different departments. There's a lot of things going on that they need your sign off on. The second thing is even though you're missing it, and then you blow it up like, oh, DeSantis, let's just say, didn't know he called. Like, yeah, possibly.
I believe that, because it was probably some other staffer that took it and said, I already know this is not important enough. Like, just like he's getting probably calls from senators and local Congress. I mean, there's a lot of people that are up for election in a few weeks, both in the state of Florida and around that area, that, everyone's trying to do this right now if they're running for office or running for re-election in 3 weeks. And obviously, if you're dealing with a disaster, you probably don't need to talk to any of them.
Look, I've never dealt with anything like this, but I have been in charge of, of venues with, a couple thousand people in there at one time with 200 plus staff. And when stuff's going on, there's literally two people I want to talk to.
Yeah.
The first one is the managing director, the person who's going to be paying for everything, so I can make my decisions about what's going on and get their approval to say, hey, this is how I'm going to handle it, or make that decision and inform them what's going on. And the people that are involved with the problems, either the people who are getting into fights, the injuries, the fires or whatever, and whoever's taking care of it. So everybody else is just, please go, you do your job, and let me take care of this for a while, and then
wake up, goddammit.
Yeah, that's what you said to him. Wake up.
So exactly, and I'm just so like when I miss calls and I know there's other things going on. I mean, I will get to those when I can, but I've once you're pulled in certain ways, you're pulled in different ways.
Yeah, I think that, and really when it like comes back down to the thing of helping or hurting, I think the main problem that Kamala has right now is that she's doing better in the polls in a couple of those swing states. So she has an edge in the what's going to be
Actually, that's funny you say that, because I was trying just now while you guys were talking, trying to test WTAN, which apparently is also not on the air. We're not going to be on WWPR 1490. They're out right now because that's Bradenton. That's where the storm hit.
Yeah.
Was Bradenton and Sarasota. So they're out. I thought WTAN may be back, but because of where they're at in Clearwater, they got decked enough also. So we're not going to be there either.
So we're here.
And so that's one of the things I'm going to talk to both these stations is trying to get an alternate, what's it called? Broadcaster, whatever, transmitter up here at a site up here, so that we can have the continuity that we're trying to have in the first place. But in the process of testing WTAN, the internet connection, which is, like I said, out, I saw something that I want to see if I can bring over from that other browser. Just give me 1 second.
While we're doing that, while you bring that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So where do you think she is right now, Matt? I mean, you're more involved in the political ground game than either of us are. I mean, do you think that like I said, I think that she seemed to be taking a few steps forward. She's had a pretty bad week, I think. I don't think her 60 Minutes interview was great. Her softball interviews were, but she can't manage to. The thing I wanted to talk about is she's, she got tossed that softball on The View of what would you do differently than Joe Biden? And she just kind of froze and was like, I can't think of anything I would have done differently. And you're like, it's like she can't even figure out that she's trying to be too delicate, I think, about it. And I think the better move right now to win the presidency is to totally throw Biden under the bus. And literally, you can even have a conversation that says, look, I've got to do this if it's more important to beat Donald Trump than it is to be nice to you or whatever. And to me, it's got to show where the priority is. But to me, Biden's showing that that's not his priority because he keeps undercutting her. I think he cares more about his legacy than he does about what happens in this election. So I think he's lying about Donald Trump being the threat that he is, because you wouldn't go on The View and say there's no daylight between me and trying to not even help her clean it up. You know what I mean? They're both saying the same things. And to me, that's not going to win her those votes that she needs. She's losing with men specifically. She's not doing anything about that. She's not doing great with Latino voters, which is why she's kind of going all in on the border stuff and immigration. I just think there's some missteps here that seem really obvious. I'm not even a political guy as far as I'm not a consult, but it seems like she needs to distance herself from Biden. She's not doing a good enough job with that. Do you think that he's being more of an albatross on her than he's helping?
Well, here's what I think. I think that everybody's really hyper focused on these little speeches and gaffes and things like that. And I think that the voters are really, at least here in Ohio, are more focused on these local races and what does that reflect about your party's position in these bigger issues that we're talking about. And so in this race over here, we have Sherrod Brown versus Bernie Moreno. And Moreno is out there campaigning in a way that really shows the pull back the curtain of what is the current GOP thinking in the state. And he's saying things like, 50-year-old women shouldn't have to worry about abortions because they can't have babies anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. And when you take those kind of statements and you amplify those, this is really, in my opinion, more so putting people in the positions of what I'm going to vote for, who I feel that is going to represent me better. And also where are my the things that I'm worried about, my issues going to be supported. And so the in my opinion, those Bernie Moreno and those statements are hurting Trump more than they're hurting, and than anything that's happening that's hurting Kamala.
Yeah, that might be. I think that might be fair.
And I think that we're seeing these in these other races. Like Carrie Lake is not helping Trump in Arizona.
Carrie Lake's helped no one ever, but yeah.
Ted Cruz is not helping Trump in Texas, right?
He's losing.
So exactly.
He's not losing. He's got
a
2-point lead in the polls still. He's not.
So what she used to dominate. What I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of races that are actually putting their weight on the scales a lot more than her going on The View and saying, you know what, I don't really see it. I don't know. I think he did a good job. I don't think that's the make or break of this. What I will say is that the inauthenticity of both candidates at this point is looking like they don't have something that they really truly grasp onto and really want to drive home the point. And that's when you see
totally right about that. It's clear that they have no guiding principles or ideals of their own. They're just trying to say whatever they think is the right thing to say right now. I mean, she's better at being on message than he is.
So personally, I believe that here's what I think on the campaign strategy is that she acquired a team from Biden, which was the consultants and the insiders of the president of the United States, which is constructed of the best team that the DNC can put together. Right. This now gets transferred to Kamala. When you're a underdog candidate, you don't have that team. What you have is all the riffraff, that scraps that are backed up that the top guys didn't want, and you push it together. And so that forces you to start thinking outside the box and doing things differently, right? Mm-hmm. What happened is I think Trump has always been, when he was the underdog in 2016, and so he didn't have the best, and he started this whole campaign. He also has a big personality himself. And so he created this whole new way of campaigning in this time in 2024, right? He's on podcasts, long forms, showing up, blah, blah, blah. And it's really gaining traction of people saying like, oh, look at it. JD and Trump is sitting down with these people. They don't know how to campaign like that. And so what they did is then they used their Democratic apparatus. They started creating this, I guess, plan and script and whatever, and send it to these friendly state podcasts and say, oh, now we got to do the thing that they're doing because it seems like it's working for them, but they don't know how to do that. And so that's when they call up the Call Your Daddy podcast, and they call it The View, and these all friendly ones, and they give them the script and say, okay, go there and do the thing and be authentic. When you have Donald Trump on Andrew Schultz and the Flagrant podcast, laughing it up and making jokes and showing a humility and humanity to the candidate, saying right or wrong and believing in his policies, I don't really care. That's not the point. What I'm saying is authentic campaigning is different, and it changed the game. Can you sit down for an hour and a half and be yourself and actually deal with the pushback of the media of not saying the right thing? And I haven't seen that from the Harris campaign yet. But do you think they don't know how to do that?
Do you think that's the campaign's fault, or do you think it's that Kamala Harris herself isn't very good?
That's the campaign's fault. Okay. I totally believe that if and it's two things. Number one is you have to practice being your authentic self.
Yeah.
No, everybody says just go out there and be that. No. The hardest thing to do is be yourself and then watch everybody hate on you for being you.
Right.
And being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That's something that Kamala has not practiced.
No.
Or maybe she has when she was a lawyer, but
I think she's scared of it. No, and even as a lawyer,
I don't think that she's scared of it. I honestly don't think that she's scared of it. But I do think that the DNC doesn't know how to do that. And I think that her authentic self is something that usually is not is scripted into everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's the consultants. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I've got some opinions on that after the break, I think.
Yeah. I've got to take a break. I found something else I want to show you guys. Another video about Pennsylvania and a poll that was taken. I got to find out. It was something Newsweek put out the video. We'll come to that when we get back. Also, we'll still do the call letters just in case. 99.1 WDJY. I know we're in Atlanta, and still, although, we'll be there for another 6 minutes. And then WTAN, WDCF, WWPR, and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. You're going up the middle. We'll be back after this.
Trump is the only president in American history who has refused to guarantee the peaceful transfer of power.
Joe Biden.
He lost the election and he knew it.
To become the president.
He betrayed millions of Americans by telling them the election was stolen.
Stop the steal.
He ignored the rulings of dozens of courts. Rather than accept his defeat, he mobilized a mob to come to Washington and march on the Capitol. Then he watched on television while the mob attacked law enforcement, invaded the Capitol, and hunted the vice president. He refused for 3 hours to tell the mob to leave. There has never been a greater dereliction of duty by any president. Trump was warned repeatedly that his plans for January 6th were illegal. He didn't care, and today he celebrates those who attacked our Capitol. Donald Trump has proven he is unfit for office. Donald Trump is a risk America can never take again.
Oh, not that one. Your house smell nasty? Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yerg's and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey. All right. Where'd he go?
Matt disappeared.
He'll be back.
Until he gets back, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, in answer, so he was talking about how, he thinks it's a campaign. I'm kind of torn on this because I do think that there is a bit of Biden's campaign staff knew what the game plan was with Biden, was to hide him as much as possible. They basically successfully did that in 2020 because we had a pandemic, so it was easy to keep him in his basement. Because I think Biden is a gaffe machine too. In that way, he and Kamala Harris are similar. And so I think they just went like, look, Kamala's kind of similar to him in the sense that she's not super trustworthy when she's off a script. And I think she feels the same way about that, just by all the reports of her like doing practices for dinners and things like that in the past. I think clearly she's not very comfortable on the fly. And
that's the sad thing about political scientists, is that just because she may not be, let's call it what it is, a smartass, that you can't make things up on the fly like that, doesn't make her a bad leader.
I agree. I agree. I don't think it is debate performance, for example, is not something I think is a qualification for being a good executive. Like, I just don't think that those two things really have a lot of overlap. I do think there is an overlap with being able to think on your feet. Because if she can't, I don't know if you guys saw the other day, her prompter went out in Detroit. And she panicked and just said the same thing over and over again for like a minute until it came back on. And this is a speech she's given over and over again. She should be able to like hit the bullet for 1 minute while her teleprompter goes out. Yeah. How are you going to negotiate with Putin if you're in a room with him?
Here's what we do with teleprompters and speeches and stuff that's repetitive like that?
How do you not have it on your stand right in front of you?
But we, meaning the Secret Service, we get to know those speeches too.
Right, because you hear them a million times.
And when we know that she gets, or he gets, or they, whoever it is, get to a certain point, you hear the cars start.
Yeah.
Because we know we got like 5 minutes left. After that, there's going to be a rope line right to left. And at stage left is where the cars are. She's going to get in the cars and we're going to go. Yeah. So, yeah, it is very repetitive. It is very timely. It's the same thing city after city.
Right, which is why I think that it does say something about her ability to be an executive if she can't wing it for a second on her speech if the teleprompter's not there. And I'm not saying, like I said, it's not disqualifying. I'm just saying it is something where the campaign went, oh, look, this is kind of similar. We can just keep running the same exact campaign, basically, but we're just swapping out the candidates. So I think it's partially that's all the campaign's known. The staff is known. But I also think it is her lack of talent because I think they're trying to do I think they've realized that the sort of the campaign strategy of let's just hide her and she doesn't ever have to do a press conference. She doesn't ever have to talk to media. I think they've realized that wasn't going to work. And that's why you've seen her do a sort of media blitz on now it's The View and it's Stephen Colbert and it's Call Her Daddy. It's a very, very friendly press other than the 60 Minutes interview, no legitimate press.
I would like to see her. I mean, I know it's probably not going to end well, but if I knew that it was going to end well, and it would, as such, shut everybody the hell else up, I would love to see her go on Fox like Pete Buttigieg does. They're scared of him.
Yeah, but Pete is much better at that than she is. I mean, he's not even close to what she can do. I mean, just leaps and bounds better at that. And to be fair, most people aren't as good at it as Pete Buttigieg is. Honestly, JD Vance is probably the Republican or Vivek Ramaswamy are sort of the Republican versions of, they're very good in front of a camera. They're very good speaking impromptu and being hit with a question that they need to dodge on or something. They're all very good at that. Most people don't have that level of talent. And Donald Trump and Kamala Harris don't have anywhere near that level of talent. So I understand why you don't want to put them on. You're not going to have Donald Trump go on an unfriendly place, even 60 Minutes. And you're not going to have Kamala Harris go on something like Fox, probably. I think that doesn't bother me a ton. I do wish they would do it. I wish we had leaders that were confident enough in what they had to say to be able to go talk to the adversarial press, because I think all press should be adversarial. I don't think that we do a good enough job at that right now, but I do wish that was the case. I just think that what she's done is by trying to go on those friendly ones and still not being able to answer the softballs, I don't think she's helping herself. I still give her an edge right now to win the election because I think she's more of a change candidate. But it's clear that people want change, and I just don't think she's doing enough to.
I'm just so tired of hearing people say or hearing talking heads like us say that people want change.
They do, though.
Go to another country.
No, but they do want change from Donald Trump and Joe Biden. They don't like that is just the polls are saying that.
You know what? The last time they want to change? 4 years ago when it was Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Right. And 4 years before that.
And how'd that work out?
Well, no, they've done it multiple times now. And I think that people keep going next.
Point being, back in 2016, when they wanted change and they got change, how'd that work out for us?
Well, but then they wanted it in 2020 too. And then they wanted it in 2020. Every election has been a change election since 2016 because
it hasn't gotten any better.
Right. I agree. But my point is that people want change desperately. All she has to do is show that she would be change, and I don't think she's doing enough to show that. Yeah. And this is me as someone I don't think she's
going to find out. Because I got a question for both of you before we play this next video.
Yeah.
Where do you see Newsweek on the political spectrum? Are they right-leaning, left-leaning?
Left.
Matt, what do you think?
I don't think I've ever watched them.
It's a magazine than anything.
They're left-leaning. They're not like The Nation or something. I mean, they're not MSNBC, but they're definitely left-leaning. I mean, without a doubt.
All right, because when you watch this, you're thinking, wow, this is really coming out for Kamala. Watch till the end. Okay, so I got to pause because I thought there was actually narration of this. I was watching this earlier while you guys were speaking, and it was muted. And I thought that there's going to be a voiceover.
Just read us the points that they make,
Yeah,
and that'll work
so
fine. We don't
for
need
those on the radio, what you're seeing, what you would be seeing, is an overview of the city of Pittsburgh, and you're seeing the three rivers, the Allegheny and the Monongahela on the right and the left, and they're forming to become the Ohio, and they're heading down toward Matt Deemer country. And it says Democrats in Pennsylvania are more enthusiastic about voting in the November election than Republicans, according to new polling data. And I'll just keep going now that I know that there's. Democrats living in key swing state, which carries 19 electoral college votes, are almost 10 points more enthusiastic about voting.
Yeah. I mean, Pennsylvania's going to swing this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. All right. So how do you think this is going so far?
Oh, I think Kamala Harris has an edge in Pennsylvania. It is very close, though. I mean, it's not a huge edge. It's still basically a coin flip from everything.
Matt, what do you think? Matt, Pennsylvania. What do you think?
Is he going to go for Harris or Trump?
Yeah. What's your take on Pennsylvania right now? Harris versus Trump?
Coin flip.
You think it's still that close?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically, Real Clear Politics has every single swing state. Let me see if I can pull that up. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. With less than a point. So I mean, like basically everything's in the margin of error. And it's only gotten tighter over the last several weeks. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so I guess I can kind of share my screen. Hold on, let's see if I can.
Well, hold on. Hang on to that. We'll come to it.
Okay.
All right. So what we've seen so far in this is, we've seen those 19 electoral college votes. So this is according to Insider Advantage. I'm just going to mute that. That's according to Insider Advantage, a survey that they did of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. How enthusiastic are you about voting in November? 86.3% of Democrats said they were enthusiastic, while 77% of Republicans.
Yeah.
And further, 11.8% of Democrats and 19.6% of Republicans said they were planning on voting, but were not enthusiastic about the prospect.
Yeah.
So far we got a higher number of Democrats that are enthusiastic about voting. And
I think, by the way, there's some other data that shows that too. For example, this time last year, 47%.
I forgot about the other data. Just keep. I want to stay focused on this for a minute because
that's fine. Yeah.
There's a pants dropper coming at the end, I think.
Pants dropper. Wow.
We've got a bigger percent of Democrats voting, being enthusiastic about voting right now, and independents the least enthusiastic with only 66%. Okay, now let's keep going. Kind of miss the music now. and a further 32% saying they were planning on voting but not enthusiastic about it. Okay, so the other thing was that the Republicans were planning on voting, but not the bigger percentage were not enthusiastic about voting. That kind of says they might be leaning a little bit towards Kamala or just voting by regret.
Well, and I think there are two things that I think make sense. Is that one, independent voters, they were 47% of the population a year ago. Now they're only 40, and more have broke to be re-registered as Democrats than re-registered as Republicans. So
I know that. Okay.
So that tends to say that people that thought they were independent have come back to being Democrats because of either an enthusiastic about Kamala or they're so anti-Trump. I mean, we don't know which direction that goes, but I think it's true. And something like 9% of Republicans are saying they're considering voting for Harris or voting for Harris, as opposed to only 3% of Democrats that are saying the same about Trump. So
okay,
you
watch
lose.
to the end.
Yeah,
watch till the end. The same poll found that 37.7% of independents were planning on voting for Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, I mean, is this just in Pennsylvania that they're talking
This
about?
is just about Pennsylvania. This is just about Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem there.
47.8% of independents in Pennsylvania are planning on voting for Trump.
Yeah, but I think part of that
I
is
did not
because,
see that one coming.
yeah, but I think keep in mind some of those independents are now like people that were calling themselves independent a year ago are now more of them are calling themselves Democrats than they are Republicans. So he may have a larger share of the independent vote, but that independent share of the vote has gone down. So it doesn't totally surprise me. The independents in Pennsylvania specifically are thinking about talking about Trump because I think Kamala Harris has a lot of uphill battles in Pennsylvania, more so than Trump does. Even though Trump lost it in 2020, he lost it by 8,000 votes, I think.
Speaking of which, where in the hell is Josh Shapiro at?
Well, again, I wonder if this is again where I wonder. It's like who's being asked to do stuff because I think.
What do you mean? He was just at a rally yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been doing stuff. But I would have picked him as the VP, though. That's what I would have done if I'm running and I have to win.
Why that didn't happen. I can tell you why that didn't happen. Something I don't know if I shared this guy. If I don't know if we had a chance to talk about this when Waltz was chosen, but it's my understanding again from people I know who were kind of like maybe possibly right outside the room. He wanted to be co-president with Kamala Harris.
I'm sure that's true. She would have been smart to take him up on that, though, I think, because he's better at it than she is.
Yeah, but just as an image, no sound, decent candidate for president is going to give up that role and share it.
And maybe that's true. We it's hard to know what the reasons are. I think I've heard everything from that. I've heard that she just got along better with Tim Walz. I believe these things.
That's true.
And I also believe that he's more ambitious. Shapiro's more ambitious, although Walz was looking at a 2028 run too. So pretending he's not ambitious for the presidency is I think wrong.
I think Walz is going to be better at waiting his turn.
Yeah, but you don't get a turn if you don't win the election. And so to me, the better gamble there is you have to win Pennsylvania. And I think it was foolish if she loses Pennsylvania and loses this race, it will go down as the worst decision ever. If she wins, you're right. People are going to be like, well, look, she did it anyway without it. Although it does let you go. For example, let's just say that that's the case and she even wins Pennsylvania. How much do you help potentially take the Senate back? For example, if they get to put more money into those Senate races in places that are winnable than they do on having to do so much ground campaigning in Pennsylvania, for example. Like if they're up by 4 points in Pennsylvania, you don't have to go there as much if you've got it. And it's back to being the blue wall. I think that was a mistake. I think Tim Walz has helped her zero. I really don't see any way that he's helped her. He's not even helping her in
guys. I'm gonna have to chime in here because I really still think that this is a problem with old school ideas of campaigning.
And that's fair.
And if you look at Tim Walz's latest interview, I can't remember what it was on. I was just watching it this morning. Actually, I'll send you the link. He looks like somebody who has been muzzled and caged. This is somebody who has been a coach, who's been a teacher, who's been in the military. This is not a shy dude. This is somebody who can speak his mind. And the way that he's acting, it says that he sat down with the consultants. He sat down with the people who are trying to run this campaign, and they said, "Tim, shut the hell up, or else."
Yeah.
And that is because they are trying to control these candidates, and the people do not want this anymore. They want people to go out there and be authentic. And we've already saw that there has been glass ceilings broke with things that you can say and things that the public will accept, and you still have a shot of being president or in office. And what they want you to do is just show yourself, you know what, and don't say things like knucklehead. I'm a knucklehead. Come on, man. That's not even a word. Malarkey.
Yeah,
come on, dude.
I say knucklehead all the time.
Well, right, but to use it as an excuse
for 2 hours.
But to use it as an excuse when, how did he not know that question was coming at the debate, and not to have an answer for how you lied about being in Hong Kong during Tiananmen Square massacre? You've got to have a better answer for that. I agree. I think he's been more of a liability to the campaign.
I think honestly, I don't even think that is such a petty thing to even to even drag on. Here's the way that I was thinking I would answer that. Because to be honest with you, I was in and out of China for 15 years, right? 17 years. 17 years or something. And to be honest with you, sometimes I get those dates wrong. Is it 15? Right. It's 15. Okay, so like I was in Taiwan. I'm sorry. I was in Thailand during the 2008 coup.
Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't there at the beginning. I was there somewhere toward the middle to end, I think. But the fact is that it still permeated the city and permeated the everyday life and culture. So it doesn't matter if you were there at the beginning or the end or the middle or 2 weeks after. To be honest with you, there are still going to be barricades. People are still going to be talking about it. There are still travel warnings and all of that stuff. So to be honest with you, if he said he was there 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, you're still feeling the facts. And by the way, it's Hong Kong. It's not Beijing. I understand the what happened in Hong Kong during that.
Oh, sorry, I said Hong Kong. Sorry, I thought it was.
Well, he said Hong Kong too. That's what I'm wondering. It's like, so you're in Hong Kong?
No, but because that's where he was going to be. Like, I know that's not where it happened, but I mean, he was saying that's where he was when Tiananmen Square happened. And I think that was the story. The point is, you've got to have a better answer for that at the debate. I'm not saying it's.
I'm sorry, I think it was 2010 coup. I'm sorry, 2010.
No,
I'm getting my years wrong too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I get that people misremember stuff. That absolutely happens. My point is, you have to have an answer for it. And I think and by the way, it's not just one thing that he's had like this. He's had multiple things where it's like, oh, I misremembered or I misspoke. Not being able to remember
because Donald Trump is a reliable source of information.
Oh, he's not. Look, I'm not saying Donald Trump is either.
Petty. Here's the thing is like people really want to get on those details like this person is lying. But to be honest with you, there's different ways to remember instances. It's like, do you remember the date and the time that you've been there, or do you remember the effect that it had on you and the effect it had on the place? Those are two different things. And honestly, the way that I remember things a lot differently is I know roughly the time and place I've been there, but I also know the effect more than anything else. And so during this time in my life, this has happened and it affected my region, my job, and everybody around me in X way. So right,
but when you put that out there as a politician, if you say, I was there when this happened, and then you get fact checked on it, that's your fault. Like the point is all of these lies that Tim Walz has said or exaggerations have been things he said on the campaign trail. It's not like some gotcha thing where someone just looks into it for no reason. Like he's the one that said he and his wife conceived a kid via IVF, and they didn't. His wife had to clear it up. Like that's a lie.
Yeah, that's an issue.
The Hong Kong thing, he lied about.
That's an issue.
He lied about, like, or at least he let the press get away with. He lied about carrying a gun in war. He wasn't in war. He lied, and like these are just little exaggerations. It's the equivalent of what we all do on every resume we've ever done. But when you're running for the vice presidency, people are going to check you on it. And that's my point is I think he's hurt her more than he's helped her. Now, I don't think he's actually hurt her a lot because I think
the campaign hurt her, man. It's not Walz that is doing this. It's the campaign.
You're totally right.
I just see a bureaucratic corporate machine telling you how to run a campaign, and they're trying to control two people that are acting unnaturally. I've been there. I've seen it. When people don't act naturally, you feel different. You try your best, and it's not you.
But that's why people don't trust them, is because they feel like they're being handled. And Donald Trump can say whatever crazy thing he wants to, because people at least go, well, he's being authentically Trump. Now, I don't give people credit for being authentic if they're also being, lying all the time. It's a weird thing with Donald Trump where he can lie and people are still like he's being authentic because he's authentically a liar. That's basically what you get when, what's his name on the show you were talking about? Andrew, what's his name? Literally laughed out loud at him when he said, I'm a generally truthful person.
Yeah.
Laughed out loud at him. I was like, what does that mean? It's laugh. And Donald Trump doesn't even care because he knows it's BS. I think you're totally right, Matt. The campaigns have...
But what an authentic moment what that was. Most people, there have been a normal consultant would be in the back and like a handler or campaign manager would gasp and go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Like we can't have that happen, whatever. And Trump, honestly, in his defense, he laughed it off. Andrew Schultz made a big joke of it. Kamala turned that into an ad. It was a great event for everybody.
I know, but here's the thing. Now, Trump should listen a little bit more to his advisors because Trump
100%.
If he just get on message a little bit.
He should have learned when he did the same thing on stage at the podium at the United Nations, and literally the entire world looked at him.
Right. Which I know does bother him. You can just tell it does. I think but it's just so weird to have two campaigns that one of them, Kamala Harris, is too into the weeds on paying attention to every little thing and not being authentic. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is being too authentic and won't let's get on message, talk about the economy, talk about immigration. He can't do it. And so it's just so weird to see that dichotomy.
He's got nothing to talk about there, though.
Well, no, I mean, he does. Like, people clearly care about these things, and he could talk about, like I said, he could lie. I mean, like, it doesn't even, but he can't stay on message. He can't do what every other politician can do. My only point is that Josh Shapiro is better at that. He's a very popular governor in Pennsylvania for a reason.
He's loved in Pennsylvania.
And the thing I go back to with Josh Shapiro specifically is his handling of, after the Trump assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, his speech the next day where he came out and talked to the press was, I don't often say that people in politics do things perfectly, because I generally just don't take that angle. I'm always looking for, where are they lying? How are they being political? It was perfect, though. He came out and he said, he talked better about the firefighter that died taking a bullet than anyone else has. He said, look, this guy, he talked about him. He said he loved Donald Trump. He loved supporting him. He showed up to a rally. It's crazy that this guy gave his life protecting his family at a thing that was supposed to be fun for him. He loves supporting Donald Trump. It was not partisan at all. It was such a great speech and such a great press conference that I was like, that's the guy she's got to pick. He's actually really good at this, and he's good at knowing the right thing to say in the moment. And the truth is, people are desperate for that, Matt. That's what I've been saying since 2016. Is people are desperate for authenticity. And I think Josh Shapiro, even if he's just good at politics, comes across that way better. And maybe he just is better. I don't know enough about him to know. I don't watch his every move. I don't live in Pennsylvania or anything. But it's pretty clear that he's better at it than Walz is, than Harris is. Donald Trump's a little too authentic and needs to dial it back. So we'll see what happens. I would give Kamala the edge right now, but it is such a toss-up in Pennsylvania in a race that she has to win.
All right. Well, here he is is that Strahan?
I can't tell. Right? Oh, yeah, I think he's on ABC. Yeah.
I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go, but the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their.
I don't agree with that.
I disagree with that too. We all agree, even though that's not true. But yeah.
Yeah. First of all, the two cases that the Democrats continue to use is 2000 in Bush v. Gore and 2016, where in both cases the Democratic nominee got more popular votes than the Republican.
Oh, I'd love to talk about this. Let's do it.
But that's not because it's because they were, in fact, not a better candidate, that the Electoral College did its job.
Well, and here's the thing that I don't like when we talk about the Electoral College. People talk about the national popular vote as if it's a measurement of anything. But the truth is, how many people do you know in your state, Florida, for example, Yergs, that are Democrats that would say, well, this state's, I mean, it's going red no matter what, so I'm not voting. I hear that all the time from people like here that are Democrats because it's such a red state, or from Republicans that like live in DC or New York that they're like, my vote doesn't matter, so I haven't voted in years. And so those people, skew those numbers both ways. So in California, you've got a bunch of Republicans that don't vote because it doesn't matter. And so that's why it doesn't matter.
It's a very Republican state.
Well, I mean, Texas, Oklahoma, there's a bunch of
but when it comes to geography,
mm-hmm.
and maybe because of that geography, it balances out in population. But anything north of San Francisco or east of Oklahoma is Republican all the way to the state border.
Oh, you mean like statewise? Yeah. I mean,
in California, absolutely.
Yeah. But like the point is, there's just not enough. Like there are enough people that do that. Plus, it's like a football team complaining about, well, we should have won. We had more yards than the other team. It's just not how we measure the thing. Now, if we want to talk about that, we don't like the Electoral College. The only thing is the reason the Electoral College exists is because it was a compromise between small states and big states when the Constitution was written, because small states didn't want to not have any say in federal elections. And so
that's what happened.
Yeah. And that would have happened.
Middle America a say.
Yeah. And it gave them a say. And so, we only have one federally elected office in the whole country. It's the president. That's the only thing we all vote on. That's it. And that's the way we do it. if we want to change it, that's fine. I just think there's no way that you're going to get 2/3 of the Congress and 3/4 of state legislators to reduce their impact on the presidential election. There's just no way you're going to do that. So I know they're trying it with the PAC thing that's going on. I just think this is a sore loser thing. If Donald Trump won the popular vote and Kamala Harris got the Electoral College this year, no one would be complaining about the Electoral College. It's just because it's happened to the Democrats twice in the last 25 years. And I get that. But like my point is, it's not a real measurement because the truth is it's a bad excuse.
Yeah. Matt, before we continue with this, anything on the Electoral College thing as the Democrat at the table here?
No comment.
Uh-oh.
But do you think this quote by Tim Walz helps or hurts Kamala Harris complaining about the Electoral College? I think it hurts her.
We didn't even finish this video yet.
Yeah, let's get to it then. All right, here we go.
Your stance. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. And I think some of folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign, and my position is the campaign's position.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think
But that's him having to clean up the thing he said in another state, to be clear. It's because he said, I think he was in, I don't remember what state, in North Carolina. I can't remember where he was, but he said, well, I think we all agree on we're against I'm against the Electoral College. And he said it in a way that was he was answering a question, but this is him cleaning it up. And that's why I'm saying I think he's hurting her. I also think it's silly that we think vice presidents and presidents have to be on the same page about everything. I think the reason you pick a vice president,
agreed,
the smart thing to say would be, no, look, he's better at certain positions that I don't have.
He's back to what we all 3 of us talked about a week or 2 ago, when they changed their mind on something, they changed their position on something,
right,
and they just turn up and say, you know what, I effing changed my mind. Get over it.
Yeah.
Well, or just that we disagree. Like, we can work together and disagree on things. I think it's ridiculous that's the way I would spin this. If I was her or him, I would say, of course we're going to disagree on things. If I'm Kamala Harris, I'd even come to his defense and be like, you know what? The reason I picked him is because he's a governor. He has experience that I don't have as a senator or a vice president. And so I think that's a good thing if we disagree on stuff. And he's going to push back on things that he's going to tell me when he thinks I'm wrong. And I'm going to tell him when I think he's wrong. And that's how we're going to be a good team. That's it. That's all you got to say. It's so easy.
Was that the clip there that one of you said he came off as somebody that was being muzzled?
Oh, I think it's pretty clear that he was told by the campaign in that situation that, like, you better clean this up and say that, well, no, I'm with the campaign. I agree with her. And Walz is having to do this. I mean, sorry, JD Vance is having to do this same thing with Trump all the time because people are asking him, well, it sounds like you, and he's having to walk this weird line because Donald Trump can change his mind.
Here's the differences in each of those campaigns. Kamala Harris has a clue, whether you like it or not. She has a clue. Donald Trump literally doesn't know what day it is.
I think that's an exaggeration.
He can say something that he means, and JD Vance can be on point with it. And 20 minutes later, after they changed his diaper, he's changed his opinion.
Yeah, I think the diaper thing.
I so hate that kind of talking points from people. I really just fucking hate it. I'm sorry. Are we on the air anywhere?
No, I don't think not on the radio. I agree, Matt. It's the diaper part's not necessary. The changing mind thing is, you're right, nerd. But like, you don't have to make Donald Trump seem less competent than he is. You don't have to lie.
We just have to be. Can we just please? I mean, look at it. You're in Oklahoma City. You're in Florida. Outside of your house, I just got demolished by a hurricane. I'm over here in Ohio. This is the vice president and the former president of the United States. One is a billionaire, one was a senator, one was an attorney general, and then we have the audacity to say that they're dumb. They're smart at something, and so we keep pulling these narratives of saying, like, these people who are achieving these different levels in their careers or lives or finances and business and and so on and so forth, and we try to project them as incompetent and stupid. They're absolutely not. And I think it's a disservice to our ability to combat the people that we don't want to combat on the political stage by telling them that they're dumb, which they're absolutely not, and making them seem in a level that is then going to exceed everybody's expectations. And so we have no way to compete with them. There's no way to fight against the opposing side.
Off the air. I don't know what the hell happened to Mix, the program we used to go on internet radio, but it totally shut down. We had not been on your radio for a little while. We're not been on Rainbow Radio.
It's just us.
Back. If there's anybody listening on those, if there's anybody that hasn't left us, maybe that's why my landline phone's ringing off the hook, is because somebody's probably trying to say, dude, what's happening?
Wake up, goddammit!
Because I played that clip earlier, and that's from Mix, and that's plays when we're on the air. So I don't know what the hell happened, but Mix shut down.
We're going to blame it on the hurricane.
Yeah, maybe it happened when we lost 99.9 because they're only with us, or 99.1, sorry, because Atlanta's only with us today for the first hour because that's what they're scheduled for. But yeah, anyway, Matt, I cut you off. Go ahead, pick back up.
No, I'm just saying it is not a good strategy to continue to make the strategy of the other guy is stupid, and therefore we can just and downplay their capabilities and their abilities. It's a bad strategy.
Calling them vapid and unprincipled fair.
Unprincipled is absolutely fine, but there's a difference between. It's kind of like you're going to go fight a championship boxer, and then say, oh well, he's slow and he's dumb and he's not as smart. Like, no, this is a person that's a champion that trains his whole life or trains himself to do this. They may have part of their game that is not that needs to work on. Maybe they are slow, they're getting older, or whatever. But the fact of the matter is still the champ.
Yeah, I just think that
you've seen this many times. People go into the ring with the champ and they get their ass kicked.
Yeah,
I mean, and it happens all the time where they just underestimate the challenge that they have because of these narratives that are being put out there. So if you want to beat Trump, can we please stop having the narrative that he's just this dim-witted person that doesn't know what time of day it is or anything? Like, come on, he is absolutely not.
Yeah, I think
so. Put him at the place where he is. He is a very successful, don't like his business practices, don't care, very successful person who ran for president and won in 2016 and is now taking over the Republican Party and obviously knows how to play the political game. Yeah. And if you want to beat that, you put that right there where what it is, a political strategist president that needs to be beat, but do not underestimate that person and keep saying stupid narratives. That's what I have to say.
I've never said any of them are stupid.
Well, you said he craps his pants.
You say that you have to change your diaper, Yergs. Come on, man. Like that's the kind of stuff that is just silly.
I smelled him. If he's not wearing a diaper, God, I hope he does.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we don't. It's the same thing that the Republicans did with Biden, and they do with her. Honestly, I think that when you set the bar so low for the other person, when all they have to do is like skip over it barely, it's
exactly.
I think it helps.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
I have no problem with that.
Stop it.
But you're talking about Donald Trump, who's got an ego the size of the hurricane that just decked us.
Fully aware. Yeah.
Bill Clinton's got an ego. He's got it in check.
So did Muhammad Ali, but you would not underestimate that guy.
No, the difference is Bill Clinton's much more talented politically than Donald Trump is.
Yeah, and that's my point.
But do you know who's not? Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? So I think those are fair points to point out. It's like, it's not like
we as a country got screwed in 2016 when the Russians interfered.
The Russians didn't swing that.
Yours was in love with that was his girl crush.
She didn't campaign in Wisconsin. That's why she's not the president. That's why she wasn't the president.
That is actually my example in how she could have beat that and the Russians by doing better in Wisconsin.
Russians did not steal the election in 2016. Quit talking about it. Didn't happen.
Then tell that to the Russian intelligence services who have been saying it ever since.
Of course they did. They want to take credit for that. They didn't do it though. There's no evidence that they swung any votes. Like then
tell that to the Department of Homeland Security, who've been trying to tell both of them that's been happening.
Iran is interfering in this one. They're not going to swing the election though. Just because they are interfering in it doesn't mean they actually did interfere. Like, does that make it doesn't mean they changed anything about the outcome of it. I just don't believe for a second that Russia is the reason Donald Trump won in 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen. All right, we've got to take another break before everything else shuts down on us again. For whoever's listening, I know it's no longer 99.1, but anybody a part of the Massive Media Network that's still here today and hasn't been decked by a hurricane, you're going up the middle. We'll be back after this.
Talking about retribution.
Retribution and going after people is disrespect of our military.
The military people that he's disgraced.
91
criminal felonies.
4 different indictments. He mishandled classified documents.
Taking documents.
Now his desire to do away with NATO.
Donald Trump talks about abandoning Ukraine.
He said he'll be a dictator on day one.
If he's going to be a dictator on day one, he's going to be a dictator, period.
That kind of stuff scares me.
It absolutely scares me.
The second Trump term would be worse than the first.
A second term for Trump would be far more extreme.
It is dangerous, outright dangerous.
I cannot support Donald Trump again.
I'd never vote for him again.
You'll never get my vote, ever, ever.
From iHeart Podcasts.
What the hell is going on in here?
Everyone has their limits.
I'd never confronted a situation like this.
The numbers were being inflated and lied about and conflated.
I just thought it was just a really terrible, immoral thing for him to do.
A line they won't cross.
I was stunned, and I just said to him, no.
We're killing people. What exactly are we doing here?
I remember him saying, in this 007 evil villain kind of way, this is the beginning of a process.
You may never have to face that decision. When you find yourself at that line,
thoughts racing, hearts racing, emotions are all over the place.
They could be harassed, they could be imprisoned, they could be killed.
Somebody needs to just, for once, give everybody the whole truth.
I'm like, this is evil.
And the only person who can sound the alarm is you.
She folded it up, put it in her pantyhose, and walked out of the building.
Yeah, I really am the world's dumbest criminal.
These are the whistleblowers.
I wasn't just going to sit silently by.
I was told you take your questioning black self and get it on up out of my facility because you're trouble.
The message is, if you are disloyal, if you speak out, you will pay.
This is what it's like when the president decides he wants to destroy you.
Bad things are going to happen to him.
You're anti-American. You are a disgrace to our country. He should be prosecuted.
When power corrupts, conscience is the last line of defense.
Is it ever too late to do the right thing?
We talk about institutions, but they're really about individual people.
The responsibility drops in everybody's lap.
I'm Miles Taylor. The Whistleblowers premieres Thursday, July 13th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Miles Taylor and the Whistleblowers. I've referenced that plenty of times throughout Up the Middle, Both Sides Now, and Yerg's Tonight. He does an excellent job telling the stories of various people who blew the whistle on the Trump administration and their reasons why, personal and professional, as well as the consequences that these people paid to get the truth to the public. Check out the Whistleblowers on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The July date that he mentioned is from 2023, and season 1 is complete. It's excellent, and it's still very relevant, probably now more than ever. So I certainly recommend that you give it a look. See you again. All right. I got to do another commercial here, but I got to get the right. Oh, I was just getting the next talking thing going. And there you go, a little music in the background. How you feeling? 2 hurricanes. Maybe some PTSD, depression, anxiety. Everything that's been checking the box in my life. Well, I'm feeling better. Because finally, I got some momentum going. What am I talking about? Momentum, fitness, and wellness. Jasmine Estates, Hudson, Pasco County. You want that Hernando Beach bod? You want to get it back? You want to keep it? Build some momentum. Get to Momentum, Fitness, and Wellness, formerly Monster Mouse Fitness. That was my gym since I've been here. Still there, or I'm back, I guess I should say, to be honest. And douchebag from the UK been commenting about my man boobs. Well, today's shirt is a little loose. I'm sitting on a tool. Yeah, I'm sitting on a tool from the UK. I'm sitting on a stool that's a little too tall for this card table that I bought so I could stay on the air during the course of rebuilding my house. Yeah, I think I'm going to be getting a beach body back soon enough. You want yours? Build some momentum. Momentum, fitness and wellness. Go in, talk to Anthony. That's my guy. We all got a guy. Anthony's mine, make him yours. And build that momentum. Plunge tank, sauna, outdoor training area, cross training, heavy weights, whatever you do it all. Build that momentum. Momentum, fitness and wellness. Go to momentumfitnessandwellness.com or stop in. I don't know what their number is. Just go to the website. There's a talking thing. It talks to you. Get your membership that way. Go in. It's 24 hours. You can't necessarily get your membership every 24 hours, but you can go in and train every 24 hours. In any time in 24 hours. Open 24 hours.
First of all, what?
Yeah, I'm serious. 24 hours. Barry checking in. All right. Let's bring the team back because the next thing we're still talking about today about politicizing an emergency. Politicizing an emergency. And we got, put it back up there. Lastly, you talk about how the Harris campaign kind of injects themselves and so on and so forth. And well, here they are again. Shocker. Newsweek. What the hell did they? Oh, there it is. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I don't lose that for the show notes. I don't know. I don't think this is a commercial, so it's got to be a story on Newsweek. I talked about how the Harris campaign named all 100 Republicans. And that's not all senators. It's 100 Republicans exactly who voted against funding FEMA. Guess where some of them are from? Let's just let me play this for a second, and then we'll come back and talk. God damn it, dude, they do any voiceovers? Jesus.
No, they don't. This is much easier. They don't have to pay someone to do a voiceover.
You don't pay people to do voiceover anymore. It's all AI. Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on.
Boomers.
Exactly. So Kamala Harris's campaign has publicly named the 99 Republicans, there's actually 100, who voted against, let's get to the rest of it, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, funding 2 weeks ago. The vote was part of a $20 billion package on September 25th, and the bill passed both the House and the Senate. However, 82 representatives and 18, that 82 and 18 is 100.
Your math is correct.
Voted against the bill, all of whom are Republicans.
These
included legislators for some of the areas most affected by Hurricane Helene, such as Florida Representative Matt Gaetz, which is true because I actually have the other Matt Gaetz, my own Gus Bilirakis, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Scott of South Carolina, Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. Detractors have a variety of reasons for opposing FEMA funding, namely that the money is mismanaged. So says people who don't even know what FEMA stands for, but okay.
Again, you're calling people dumb because they have a different opinion than you, Yergs. Like, they might have had good reason to not vote against this, and it was weeks ago. I'm just saying,
if I had a camera here, the look on my face right now would be telling. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I know she's dumb. Not all 100 of these are dumb.
Okay, exactly. All right.
But everyone's not Marjorie Taylor Greene level of stupid. We know she's stupid. We know
she's far behind.
Well,
Matt Gaetz runs around Capitol Hill showing pictures of the underage chicks he banged.
Have I ever defended Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene? No. Right. There's some of the other 100 that had a good reason to not vote for this, okay?
Some Republican legislators have also accused FEMA of aiding migrants instead of helping American citizens. Come on. Really?
Yeah, I agree. It's a Trump conspiracy theory. Some people, that is true. It's not. Now there is some.
The funding bill was eventually passed on September 25th. However, Newsweek reporting the bill failed to include supplemental disaster funding worth billions of dollars. FEMA has been coordinating a force of almost 7,000 federal workers to provide meals, water, generators, tarps, and other supplies and equipment on the ground across North Carolina. I got to pause this so I don't lose it again. Get that part back. Damn it. There we go. North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, which were declared disaster zones following the devastation left by Hurricane Helene on September 24th. I mean, he did that. He did that pretty much the next day. And when I say he, I mean President Biden did that pretty much the next day. Matt, what do you got here? Did Matt leave us again?
No, he's still there.
No.
Yeah. What was it? Was there a question?
Yeah. What you just sent me another one. What do you got here? Oh, I saw this. Yeah.
Well, that was the list of all of the people's.
Yep. Yeah. This is the. Share this instead. Let's see if I can get that to a better. There we go. This is Matt's post, and I got the same one from the Harris campaign. This is a list of 100 members of Congress, all Republicans, who have voted against funding FEMA, many of whom, and there's one of them, I got that too. One of them is here from Florida, who is now claiming to have been for this.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not true, but...
Do you not know that your voting record is public information?
Well, most people are dumb enough to not know it.
Oh, so they are dumb.
No, I was saying most voters are dumb. Like, they're not going to pay attention to the fact that he voted.
Are you talking about Anna Paulina Luna?
Yeah, that's one of them. There's actually two. There's actually another.
Well, the person I'm running against also voted against it.
Oh,
look, I was trying to think of like different, and honestly, I was trying to think of different reasons that you would do this, but the fact is like when you have the hurricane slamming in and you have Maui that happened, and it's like FEMA funding is one of the things that we should probably be, really debating and figuring out how to get that appropriate for people and having the response times go down and making sure that we, respond accordingly. So any votes against
the guy, right?
Really good public statements, I think, is
right?
Irresponsible.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off, but Max Miller is who you're against, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that was
way down the middle column.
Who I was running against?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, some of it's like government funding stuff is a whole thing. Obviously, we've got lots of fights about it. I tend to think that we're spending too much money across the board. I think that we need to talk about everything that we're spending money on, because we're just going further and further into debt all the time. And it's very clear that neither side care about fiscal responsibility anymore. Let's not even pretend the Republicans care about fiscal responsibility, because nothing in their actions at the federal level show me at all that any more than a handful of them are actually serious about that. And Democrats are the same thing. When Kamala Harris was asked last week, how are you going to pay for this? In that 60 minutes,
who cares?
What do you mean? Who cares? I care. I'm the one that's going to have to pay this crap when it comes up.
Guess what?
Trillion in debt.
If NATO comes and rips your house apart, I'm going to be there for you. I don't care what it costs.
I'm not talking about FEMA funding specifically. I'm saying I'm okay with looking at everything we fund.
Talking about. That's what we're talking about.
I know, but you can do this with every single thing, Jurgs. And the point is, we can't spend the money we're spending all the time.
And that's why I agree with the Harris campaign for releasing that. Because I'll release it too. I've already done it earlier this week twice.
Of course, you're going to agree with the Harris campaign. You agree with them on everything, Jurgs. I get it. That's fine.
No.
You think she can do no harm, and you think that Republicans are evil. Just admit it. You're not in the middle, Jurgs. You can say you are, but you're not.
If I need to stop,
I think we should move me into the middle there, right there.
Right. I mean, like, it's just my point is don't pretend.
I need to stop saying that certain people are stupid when in fact they're stupid.
I'm not saying you can't call people stupid. You can't say that Donald Trump is crapping his pants and
he's crapping his pants.
Is there? Do you have
smell that bad?
Okay, you have no source that
shows crap my pants and I don't smell that bad.
My point is, he's bad enough without having to go that far. Kamala Harris is bad enough without having to make up that she's somehow stupid. Like, you don't have to go that far.
I know. I've met her. I promise you, she's no dummy.
I mean, I don't think she's very good at being a politician, and I don't think she can think on her feet at all. And I don't think that she's shown any ability to be able to argue a persuasive point, just like Donald Trump can't do it either. And I think that those are fair criticisms.
Did you see her when she laughed in his face when he started mentioning eating cats and dogs?
Well, of course, he's crazy. I'm not saying that he's not terribly off message. I'm saying she's not much better than he is. She can't even answer the question on The View. She can't answer the question on Colbert.
The lesser of two evils. And when you come to a vote about funding people who have lost everything.
They hadn't lost everything. It was weeks ago, Yergs. It was before the hurricane.
They lost everything. That's what FEMA's for.
It was before this happened. So you can't, you're getting the causality backwards. No one's asking for FEMA funding after the hurricane showed up.
When this bill came to the floor, they knew Helene was coming. They knew this was going to be one of the worst seasons in history, and it has for the city of Tampa twice in 2 weeks.
It was in September. They did not have this hurricane tracked in the middle of September, Yergs. You're wrong about the
timeline. They did. They had it in June.
Okay.
They knew that this was going to be one of the worst seasons in history.
Okay, that's fine. Like, my point is, you obviously don't like Republicans, Yerg. You've never said something positive about a conservative or Republican on this show since we've done it. I don't think.
True.
Who have you praised?
I've been talking up Ron DeSantis all week. Where the hell have you been?
Okay, but like, it's always led with he's a fascist. He's a fascist, but he's done a good job. My point is,
fascists do good jobs when they have total authority. That's what fascism is.
I just think you go to the extremes of stuff sometimes, and it's not necessary. You can talk about the bad things that people do without going to the extreme of them being fascist or dumb or crapping their pants.
Let me talk about the bad things that people do without being fascist or how dumb they are. Because I think the stats, the 100 Republicans, many of whom have already been in disaster areas this year, or knew goddamn well they were about to be.
That's okay, but I think it's fair.
Still voted against this bill because their pussy hurt.
I think it's fine to talk about funding across the board on any of this stuff, and I'm not going to begrudge someone's vote.
Funding across the board. We're not talking about sending money to Ukraine. We're not
this
talking
multiple
about
funding things
to Israel. We're talking about keeping that money at home, where these same people have been wanting it to be.
You're right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong, but
I think we should look at the reason why that this FEMA bill was. They're saying that it was denied and voted against because there is this now narrative saying that the funds are being diverted to support non-citizen immigrants,
which
and
is not
FEMA
true.
has denied that. That's not true. That's the claim.
No, it's not. That's not. It's a claim that they're trying to pretend is the reason. It's not. I'm saying that their excuse is not true.
Other excuse. Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, if that's the excuse that they're voting against, and we do need we need more fiscal responsibility. That is for damn sure, Blake, 100%. But taking care of people in disaster is not the fiscal responsibility. This is not the time to cut that. That's not where you start cutting, in my opinion. It's like when you say FEMA, and this is a fund that is put aside for disasters to help people recover their lives. And honestly, not just recover their lives, you're recovering your GDP, you're recovering economic zones, you're recovering transport, you're recovering supply chain, you're recovering your ports, you're recovering all kinds of different things. And this is the makeup of the United States of America. That's not the first place you start cutting.
That's fine.
That's that's not the first place you start denying funds. In fall season.
And the truth is, none of this matters compared to Social Security and Medicare. That's really the only things that matter. Like,
$19 billion is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
that is literally a rounding error when it comes to the Pentagon.
As is Ukraine funding, as is Israel funding. All that stuff is you're talking the discretionary spending at the federal level is you could cut all of it and we'd still be $33 trillion in debt.
To service our debt right now is almost $1 trillion a year, and we're adding $1 trillion of debt in interest. That's what servicing the debt is. So service the debt is about $1 trillion a year, and we're adding $1 trillion every 120 days.
Yeah.
So look, this was not the time, in my opinion, for and here's the honest opinion. Here is the honest opinion. Is that there's a lot of Republicans in districts right now that are competitive or in they're being called rhinos because they voted for Ukraine funding. They voted for other kind of funding. And now they had to make a certain stance politically. They need to make stands that said, hey, I am not a rhino. They made to make stands that said, I am fiscally conservative. And they're choosing these different things. My opponent just made a vote the other day that was oh man, I'm blanking on it. That was obviously against what he's been voting on in the past 2 years because he talked to Mike Johnson and said, "Hey, I got to vote against this because of my whole district thinks I'm a rhino."
Although I've seen a lot of data that I don't think that the Ukraine vote hurt any of these people. They almost everyone that voted for Ukraine funding won their primary, and so they obviously were not punished by Republicans for doing so.
It was the CR. He voted against the CR.
Yeah,
and so he had to do that, even though everybody knew you had to vote for it and it had to pass.
Yeah,
and nobody politically would not let that pass. But strategically, down the line, everybody had to say, "Do we have enough votes? Okay, then I have to vote no for my district, so people don't think I'm a rhino." This was another thing.
As long as you're going to win, this was the matter. Yeah,
this was the wrong way to do it.
Rhino, I'm representing you. I'm voting for this because it's the right thing to do. And if we had any funding in that continuing resolution, now we're going to get it.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately not how campaign ads work. They just go, they voted against this, they voted for this, or whatever. Like, that's all they're going to do. I mean, like, it's
step up and say it in your own campaign ad.
Oh, I agree. I wish people were more honest. I wish people were more honest all across the board. I think people want that authenticity. I'm just saying, not voting for something or voting for something when you know it's going to pass. You're right. The speaker's never going to care because they care more about winning than they do about anything else. And
look,
that's fine.
But here's the point. Can we just talk about government spending? It's not about when we reduce spending, we actually reduce the bureaucracy and the bloating and the overspending on other things. So we just reduce everything instead of trying to make these. First of all, I am never. If we're going to cut budgets, can we just not start with like healthcare and Social Security and disaster response? Don't do that. And if you want to cut the budget, go and talk about efficiencies. Go talk about costing. Go talk about how you actually are purchasing the products or the items and see if we can't reduce costs that way first in these areas. But we should not be going and attacking the American people and how their taxpayer dollars should be used for disaster response, for healthcare, for Social Security. Is that acceptable?
Well, yeah, I mean, and really none of it matters because, like I said, it's really just Social Security and Medicare that have to be fixed. Because really, like I said, you could cut the entire rest of you could take it all from 100% to 0% funding. It would not solve the national debt problem. It would not solve that interest problem. It won't solve any of that. It's the locked in stuff that Congress has no ability to change the trajectory of unless they pass new versions of how that stuff works. And the truth is, no one ever has. Here's the real truth of it. Until there are more voters my age and younger that show up and vote and say, you've got to change Social Security so that it exists when we retire, then if we don't outvote the older people that are 65 plus, then it's never going to change because they're going to keep going to that demographic because they more reliably go to the polls and vote. That's why they won't touch Social Security. And that's why both candidates won't touch it. That's why they won't touch Medicare. Even though those are the big problems budgetarily for us. That's why neither side cares about fiscal responsibility, really, because their constituency that's 65 plus or 55 plus around that thing don't want them to touch anything. And they more reliably show up than 20-year-olds do. That's just a fact. And until that changes, nothing will change about this deficit.
I'm not in that older one yet, although I'm approaching. I don't think Social Security is something that needs to be taken away.
I'm not saying taken away. It is going to be in 2033, though. It will run out of money.
No, you don't. You shouldn't. No. You expand it. You expand it. You stop the cap, expand it, and make sure. And first of all, can we stop taxing Social Security?
Yes.
Like, isn't that ridiculous?
Right,
but stop taxing it.
But is that the right? I don't think that's the right move to talk about right now when you're still talking about budget shortfalls. That's going to be less income, so you're going to increase the debt more if you do that right now.
Maybe we redo the entire tax structure and make those who can be paying more pay more?
Well, but like who's not paying enough right now, Jurg? That would be my question first.
Any billionaire that has a B in front of their status.
Okay, you could confiscate all of the wealth of every billionaire in the country. There's 801 of them.
Confiscate it.
Oh, no. I'm just telling you.
Elon Musk is an asshole.
Hold on. Let me tell you some math.
Every penny he got, whether
Let
he
me give you some math
for it or he worked hard and got his hands dirty.
Let me give you some math real quick.
That.
There are 800. Hold on. There are 801 billionaires in the country. They have a combined wealth, total wealth, all of their wealth, $6.2 trillion. The budget for this year is $6.5 trillion. If you took every single penny of worth that every billionaire in the country had, you could not pay for this year's budget. There's not enough money to soak the rich in this kind of situation. You have
my grandmother had a set of nuts. She'd be my grandfather. I'm not talking about if. I'm not talking about doing things that aren't.
No, I'm just telling you, it's not possible. You can't tax them enough.
Wait, Blake. When we talk about expanding, when we talk about expanding, we're not talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying
we were talking about expanding. We're talking about how much you're paying and who pays into Social Security from their earnings, and it's capped at a certain amount. You expand that up to a higher earning point. I'm not talking.
Right, and my point is that's
not going to be a budget shortfall. That's going to add more to the Social Security budget.
No, but you were talking about why are we? I was saying that on the taxing,
because we're taxing it as income. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I agree, but I don't think right now is the time to fix that when we have the budget shortfall. I do agree that should be part of. I think that would be a good part of the reform of Social Security. Is that I don't think that you should get double dipped on the taxes on that.
You're getting absolutely. You're getting it's crazy. It's crazy.
I also think there's lots of things you can do where you could say, look, if you're a billionaire, you don't get Social Security because you don't need it. Like, I think there's all sorts of things like that we can do. I'm just saying there's not enough money that rich people have that we can tax them to fix Social Security. Even if you do
increase about taxing billionaires to fix Social Security. I'm saying about taxing billionaires to fix the image of taxation.
But it doesn't fix.
Elon Musk made how many billions of dollars this year?
Right, but the top 5% of.
Do you think the 33 or whatever percent that I'm paying in income tax is anywhere close to the percentage that he's paying?
It is. He's paying a lot more than you are.
No, he's not in percentage. He's not, and that's the point.
On his earned income, he is. On his earned income, he absolutely is. Yes, he is. He's paying income taxes on the money.
He's got all the loopholes. I'm talking about what he actually pays. He's got all the loopholes.
You've got the same loopholes. Everyone does.
I agree.
Congress can fix that right now. Anytime they want to, they could sign a bill that says we're closing this loophole. It's not illegal to take advantage of tax advantages. I'm doing the same thing. Everyone does. You do. That's the smart thing to do.
We got to learn how. We got to teach Jurg how to set up an LLC.
So look, here's the problem. It's a fair share. At 80, okay, the top 1% pay for. They account for 33% of all of the income taxes, and the top 5% pay 63% of the income taxes. So that's all the income taxes. That's not including capital gains or any of those other kind of stuff, or business taxes or anything. Just talking about the personal income tax, because when we talk about tax,
what about those billionaires that are actually LLCs?
Guys, it was great. I got to go.
Okay, that's fine. But I do want to talk about this for 1 second, Jurg, because you're right. The loopholes exist, and I'm fine with. Let's talk about that. Let's close them. The point is, Elizabeth Warren and people like that complain about these tax loopholes, and they're like, "You're a senator. You can write a law that changes that and takes away that loophole. You have the power to do that." And they just like to complain about it. And my point is that I'm not saying we can't restructure taxes. Let's do it. I'm just tired of the narrative that rich people don't pay their fair share. They're paying the vast majority of the income taxes. They're paying the vast majority of taxes.
You just created next week's topic. I don't care if
I won't be here next week. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, remember I'm flying back from Florida. I'll be in your neck of the woods all week next week. Not neck of the woods. I'm up in the Panhandle, but still in Florida, in the state.
Yeah, you did say that.
No, I just think that I think that I love these kind of conversations. I want to talk about restructuring taxes. I want to talk about restructuring all that stuff.
You remember who Robert Reich is?
Yeah, I mean, I remember who he is. Yeah,
I don't know. He's actually big dude, little person. He's like 5 feet tall, maybe. But he had a good. We'll have to talk about it. Well, I'm not doing 6 minutes. We got to go.
That's fine.
Here, I'll play this one first, and then We will talk about this when you get back. Hold on. Where's the volume? I gotta hate Twitter. Or no, which one's
yeah,
this?
it mutes them automatically, which I do appreciate most of the time. Nope, that sounds terrible. That did not work. I think these are interesting things to talk about. I would rather talk about these big things that are really going to matter in the next decade that, like, frankly, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris don't want to touch.
Yeah. Redo this.
Nope. Did you disappear? I think I lost you.
Yeah, and that's my point. I
didn't hear anything. If you played something, sorry.
You know what? It probably. Oh God damn it!
Didn't work.
Probably because it's the same browser. Oh, that's why. Let me see if we do it this time. Hold on. Share this tab instead. Let's try it again.
The 5 richest men on the planet.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Now hold a combined $869 billion in wealth. If each of them were to spend $1 million a day, it would take them 476 years to exhaust their wealth. Don't tell me they can't afford a wealth tax.
Oh, come on.
The 5 richest men on the planet.
Okay, so what's stupid about that is they're not going to do that.
Wealth taxes don't work. They don't work. Other countries have tried them. They're impossible to track down. They're impossible. They don't work.
So then, if perchance you agreed that the wealth are not paying their fair share,
yeah, okay, that's a bold statement. I think they are paying their fair share. I'm not saying we can't change things about the thing, but I think they're paying almost all of our federal income is coming from rich people.
It's coming from corporations that do actually have to pay taxes.
It's coming from individuals too. I mean, literally just from the income tax alone, 60, what was it? Hold on, let me get the number right. Because I'm not 63% is paid by the top 5% of earners. So 5% of people in the United States, it's 7 million people, are paying 63% of all the tax revenue that we're getting, the federal government is getting. What do you want that number to be if that's not fair? That's what I'm asking. Like, I think that we would be better off in America if everyone had to pay more taxes, because I think everyone would be more invested in the decisions the federal government does with that money. I think that, frankly, right now, everyone just wants handouts from the government, and no one really cares about the repercussions of that. And I think that's across the board. I think that's rich people and poor people, and I don't blame. Everyone's going to look out for themselves. That's why I think we need to have a more even. We have the most progressive, and what I mean by that is that rich people pay a lot more than poor people. We have the most progressive tax system in the world. All the countries that everyone on the left looks up to in Europe, they tax the middle class a ton more than we do, and lower class too. Everyone pays those taxes to pay for, like, healthcare for everyone and all those kind of social programs. If we want those kind of things, which I don't, but we've got to be honest about how you got to pay for that kind of stuff. And you can't do it just by soaking the rich. You just cannot do it. There's not enough money.
Now you don't want those things for everyone.
I do not want universal health care in America. I do not think the government can administer health care better than private people. Now, we need to reform health care in gigantic ways. I don't think that's the solution to our health care problems, though.
All right. Yeah, we're almost agreeing. We're arguing and agreeing. So what do you think of these numbers here? Is this what you're looking at too? Individual incomes, largest source of revenue, according to 50% of the accounting for 50% of the revenue for fiscal 2024.
Right.
36% Social Security and Medicare. So, I mean, I agree. That's a huge chunk that we got to make up for.
Well, and that's, keep in mind, that's hold on. So, okay. So that's 36% of the revenue. And I think what people don't understand, people think that it's a trust fund. People think that the money you put into Social Security is sitting there growing, and then it's there for you when you retire. That is not how it works at all. It is actually more like a Ponzi scheme than people say that. And people are like, oh, it's not a Ponzi scheme. I'm like, okay, I'm giving money to a revenue source that's getting paid to someone else for money that the government doesn't have that they paid into it, and they're always paying someone older than me, and so the money might not be there. Like I said, in 2023, if it goes insolvent, benefits will get cut by 25%. I think it's 24% actually, immediately. That is like not a thing. That's a thing that gets triggered. There's no law that Congress would have to reform the whole thing.
I understand this. Let me see if I understand this then. When this says that 50% of the revenue comes from individual income taxes,
right,
and then 36% comes from Social Security and Medicare, that's money I'm paying as part of my paycheck.
If you get a paycheck, but that's payroll taxes, which obviously if you're a private entity in the United States, like I have my own business, 15%.
This isn't what Matt was talking about by me receiving Social Security or Medicare and being taxed from what I received.
Matt was talking about two things actually. So Matt was talking about not taxing the money you receive from Social Security, but he was also talking about raising. Right now, there's a cap, and it changes every year because it actually grows with inflation. Of I think it's the first $450,000 of income. From and by income, what we're talking about there is, like I said,
I think 450 is what they want to change it to.
I think it's in the 400s for sure. I think it is already 450 based on inflation stuff, because it's inflated a lot over the last few years because inflation went up, and so because the tax brackets change. Actually, that might not be true. Don't quote me on that. I know the tax brackets change automatically.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
But he is saying let's raise that cap. Here's my problem with that. That affects so few people that it won't really increase the revenue that much, because most people don't get $400,000 in income from their job. That's a very small percentage of people.
Right.
Most people, now, that does affect you if you, for example, own a small business, but that only counts on the income that you pay yourself. So most people set up a small business where they write themselves a check, and then the profits of that are taxed differently than income that's like a paycheck, for example. And that is payroll taxes. So you have to pay that as an individual if you've got a private business, or you have to pay that as my employer pays half of it. If I have a normal job that pays me a paycheck, they pay half that payroll tax, I pay half of it. So if I'm a sole proprietor, I have to pay both sides of that. That's what most people are saying. Let's increase that limit.
That's the thing about sole proprietorships is small businesses.
They're paying all of that.
Are flat out stupid.
Well, it's not stupid.
Even a one-person business like me right now should be an LLC.
Well, but even an LLC would have to pay that. It doesn't matter whether it's LLC or not. It's like if you are a sole proprietor, whether it's an LLC or any kind of thing like that, that income is going to get taxed on payroll taxes if it passes down to an individual, which it inevitably
Why would I want to set up myself as an LLC and pay myself as an employee when I get now taxed twice as the owner of the LLC and also as an employee of the company?
We don't get taxed twice if you're paying that as a salary, because that's an expense as a salary. That's why most people set that up. And I'm not a business tax guy. This is just what I know about my stuff. So I'm not an accountant, but I do know that yes, that's why most people do set up like an LLC and then they pay themselves out of it like a normal salary, no matter what the profits are. It's partially so that you can say that's an expense for the business, but you can also then incomes, it's different too, because you can have a W-2. There's a lot of benefits that come with that, even just like trying to get a mortgage, for example. So there's all sorts of loopholes. I agree, though, that what the problem is, the whole tax code is so complicated. Complications and complexity are a commodity for people that have the resources to pay experts to get around those complications. And so, yes, a billionaire has, or a giant company has has an army of accountants and lawyers that can get around the loopholes, and much better than an individual can. So I do agree. We got to simplify the tax code. We got to make it easier for individuals to take advantage of. Loophole gets a bad, that's not really what they are. They're not loopholes. They are purposely designed incentives for people to do things that they want to do. So for example, there's all sorts of tax breaks there's the child tax credit, because we want you to have kids, because we need kids to eventually be workers to pay for old people's retirement stuff. Okay. There's a really basic economic thing going on there that we say,
agreed.
Kids are good. We're going to reward people that have kids. Or in business, you might say, we want to give people more money to invest in green energy, for example. So we're going to give you tax breaks if you invest in green energy. Like, we do this all the time. They're not loopholes. They're incentives to do want you to do. And so we can close some of them. We can allow some of them. I'm fine with having all those discussions. I'm just saying we cannot continue to pay for the things we're wanting to say. We say we want to pay for while taxing people the way we are right now. You either have to change the way the taxes work and get more income. Oh, there you are.
I don't know what the hell just.
I don't either. There was a countdown and everything was muted. I couldn't hear you anymore. But anyway, I think that is the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that's really going to matter. Is like that's a policy that we've got to talk about, and it's like we spend too much time fighting about, I think, really stupid things in politics, not paying attention to like, hey, how did we do during COVID, and what have we learned from it? Is there any evidence that we have learned from it? What have we done during, I just feel like we're not doing enough of the stuff that's going to really matter 30 days from now, much less a year, 2 years, 5 years. Like, do we have a succession plan for if Washington has a crisis or we get attacked? I mean, like, they just arrested a guy 5 miles from my house for plotting a terrorist attack on election day. It's an Afghan national that was here, bought some AK-47s from an FBI informant. And, so those are real scary things that I think we go, the government, it should be doing that job. And I'm glad they are. But meanwhile, we're fighting about, something stupid like transgender people in bathrooms or something. And I just think that it's not, I don't think the voters or our elected officials are at a level of seriousness that I think for the most part.
I'm trying to not. We're supposed to be able to adjust the time on the countdown.
Yeah.
I don't know why you got muted.
It's okay. Anyway, I got to run. I got a million things to do.
Yeah,
and I'll miss you next week as I'm flying back that day. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But I'll see you after that. And we will be, let's see, how close will we be to the election when we're on together? Gosh, it'll be
something. I'm putting up a calendar
a week and a half away when we hang out on the 25th.
You're missing next week. You know what's supposed to happen next week right now, at least tentatively?
No.
I'm going to give you and everybody who's stuck with us this far. We'll be, so next week, a week and a half when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, however, we get to add, ready for this?
Oh, some more stations?
Not W, because it's out west in a swing state. KSHP, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
Will be part of the team next week.
Las Vegas, man. They're I've only spent a total of 24 hours in Las Vegas over 2 trips. So
really?
Yeah, it's like both of them one of them was just like overnight. We were driving through back in the band days. We just went for like 4 hours from like 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. But then this last time I went to see you too, we woke up the next morning and our flights had gotten delayed and moved.
Did you see them in
the Sphere? It was if you like a band and they announce a residency at the Sphere, you should absolutely go. It really is, as a technical person that likes lights and sounds and things like that, as well as music.
I'm a Pink Floyd guy.
I'm a Pink
Floyd guy.
Unreal. And it will, and I would argue that U2 show is probably, I want to use worst in not the right way here. It's such a new venue at the time, and they were trying to get it online so fast that there's no way the stuff that goes on that screen inside is not going to get even crazier. They built a camera that can shoot stuff on that angle and stuff. it's just going to get better and better. So yeah, if there's a band you like and you want to spend some money, go to Vegas, see a bit, like the sound. It was a crazy experience. That screen is, that's why we need eccentric billionaires. You don't get that Sphere venue if you don't have a crazy guy that goes, I have this insane idea for a venue, and you have the budget to go $1 billion and a half over.
They can be at least pretend to be remotely humble people like Mark Cuban instead of outright assholes like Elon Musk.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you need that person. I think that we need those personalities.
He brings somebody on Joe Rogan, an employee of his, for the sole purpose of firing that employee on Joe Rogan.
Right. But here's the thing. Elon Musk.
Not cool.
Elon Musk, I'm fine with all the criticisms of him. I have criticisms of him too. My point is, I think it takes a little bit of crazy. There's a crazy genius problem. And I think Steve Jobs had it. I think Elon Musk has it.
Just about to quote Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do you know which one I was going to put
up? No, I
don't.
But I mean, he was a crazy a-hole. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. But he was also a genius. And
100%.
There is a
him is that he rectified or made effort to what I don't know what the word is. I mean, here's one of them that I like about him.
I'm just okay to separate the kind of genius from the stuff that, like, personality wise, I would go.
Yeah.
I don't think the way Steve Jobs ran Apple, I mean, he's kind of a crazy dictator, but it worked. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things where I go, I wouldn't run a business that way, but I also wouldn't have $1 billion business then. $1 trillion business.
One of the quotes that I like, I've got him like 12 times in this file, by the way. This is what rotates through on my desktops. And when I do on the other 4 days, I don't usually do it here. What I call morning motivation. I pick one of these and I, put it up on the screen like it is right now.
Yeah.
And I tell how that particular quote has affected me personally.
Yeah. And I think that's correct.
Some crazy ass stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing on some really smart people to help me with it.
Right, which is just,
and I'm giving them
when you don't know how to do that thing. Like, I'm terrible at graphic stuff. Why would I not hire someone that's good at it?
But exactly, but then I listen to them. I don't bring on, and that's the thing about the campaigns that I didn't get to interject that I wanted to, but I'll let you guys go today, as always. And that is that too many of these campaigns bring on yes men.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's going to be Donald Trump's biggest problem if he wins the presidency, is that he's only going to hire sycophants. And I think that does not help you be a better president.
And then there's this one. Here. This is exactly what you were talking about. Is it on there?
Now, the difference is Steve Jobs can say that in a quote, but he still yelled at people when they disagreed with him. Like, I think he was a scary guy to work for from, even firsthand stories of, I worked at Apple retail back when he was still around. And, you talk to some people that work at our store manager ended up being the retail manager over all the stores. So we literally had a guy that was our store manager that then became the head of retail. So, we actually heard some stories and stuff of what was going on at Apple corporate. And I mean, he's crazy. I mean, he's kind of a dictator, and that works.
Is it showing up there?
Run a company. Yeah.
Yeah. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
And Elon Musk is, you're right. I wish he didn't inject himself to all the political stuff and say all the crazy stuff. But you know what? He figured out how to take a rocket off and re-land it on a barge. I mean, not he, but like, he built a company that did that. That's crazy. That's something that no one ever thought was possible. And it's changed space stuff permanently. The Starlink stuff is insane. Tesla. I mean, just pick all of the things.
I'm actually going to be subscribing to Starlink.
Right. I mean, and Starlink's, by the way, Elon Musk gets no credit, I feel like, for repurposing Starlink during the hurricane relief. Like, he actually, like, FEMA and all these emergency people are using Starlink because of Elon Musk. So my point is, you got to give him credit when he gets credit. I'm also fine with calling him out when he says something is stupid. I also think he's clearly frankly autistic. I mean, there's just no way that guy doesn't have Asperger's or something.
But that's a usual, is that Steve Jobs said it. The people who are crazy enough to change the world are the ones who crazy enough to think that they can.
Right. And you know what? Honestly, Donald Trump has a little bit of that too. I mean, I don't think that he's near as smart as Elon Musk. Like, and this isn't me calling him dumb. This is me saying there's no way he's that smart. Like, he can't do anything.
This just something that was in that something just kind of said, damn well he's doing this, or did they actually see it happening? And maybe it was you that said it. The interview by Elon Musk of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, damn well he's sitting there rolling his eyes at the stuff that Trump is saying.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Well, not in front of him, but yeah.
But that's what I don't. Was it literal, or somebody just saying, yeah, I'm just going to bite my tongue here and smile and nod?
Yeah, I mean,
my potential boss is sitting right across from me.
Yeah, I mean, not boss. I mean, Donald Trump's not going to.
If he works for the administration, like he wants to,
why would you take that job?
God forbid. Exactly.
Trump. Everyone that's ever taken that kind of job has been burned by Trump. Even his most loyal, crazy sycophants, Rudy Giuliani, Pickett.
Yep.
Why is anyone trusting that that's not going to happen? I mean, honestly, I think it's going to happen to J.D. Vance. I think people think J.D. Vance is the future of the Republican Party. If Trump loses in November, he will be blamed for it, even if it's completely not fair. Trump never takes the blame for anything. He will throw J.D. Vance under the bus as fast as he's thrown anyone else under the bus. And I don't know why people still think that there's going to be a different outcome. Show me the person other than maybe Steve Bannon, and even he got thrown under the bus at one point. Right. There's been people that have come back from being thrown under the bus, but everyone gets thrown under the bus at some point if you work for Donald Trump.
Let me tell you a quick story, and then we're going to close out.
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, I used to take part in a room on a social audio application called Clubhouse.
Yeah, I remember it. It was a hot thing for a minute.
And for some people it still is, and unfortunately that's the highlight of their life, is holding court on Clubhouse.
Right. And very few people.
To be honest about it, I did learn things because it was about podcasting and broadcasting and how to succeed on the back end.
No, they're very interesting. Yeah.
Managing social media, yada, yada, yada. And the guy's successful in what he does. I'm not going to take that away from him either. Because when people like Trump, who bring the best and the brightest, and then 20 minutes later he's firing them. Well, dude, you hired him. What's that say about you?
Well, and that's my argument all the time with MAGA people is I go, okay, so if he's so good at hiring people, then did he hire a bunch of deep state people or people that are bad at their jobs? Like, I don't understand, which one is it? And they never have a good answer for it because
at this room. Yeah. It's about podcasting and broadcasting. And to be fair, I did learn quite a bit in my probably been there every Tuesday and Thursday for about 6 months now. His one of his rules about, and you know what this is like, if he controls the room, to be able to talk on it, he has to bring you on stage. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you still sit in the audience, and it's a virtual, relationship. You're not really in an audience. You're just on this list over here that doesn't have the capability to speak.
Yeah.
So he brings you on stage, and then some people he makes you a co-host or a moderator, which gives you other capabilities to do throughout the thing. One of it, most of us come on stage because that's what it's for all of us to discuss, not just listen to him, but to discuss and tell our stories about our time in podcasting and broadcasting, or both. And one of these guys is I don't remember the affiliation, but is some Christian from Tennessee his group was literally the first on the ground in a particular area of Tennessee to provide relief for Helene.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of getting his hands dirty and saying, starting to provide relief, this guy goes on Facebook and says, hey, we're the first ones here. Where is everybody?
Yeah.
And so, of course, because this guy that owns the room and this guy that's the Christian, and this is no knock on Christianity. I'm a Christian. It's just how I can identify this guy without giving you his name.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of problems with the political Christianity stuff right now, so you're not offending me.
Yeah. Well, we'll call him Johnny. Johnny goes on Facebook and wherever else and says, we're the first ones here. Where the hell is everybody? And people from FEMA said, hey, you need to look a little harder, bitch. We've been here.
They probably didn't say bitch,
but that's what he's saying. That's
kind of awesome if they did.
Like, you would have thought, oh, we're starting a war here on social media because I said we're the first ones here. And the owner of the room, we'll call him John, says to Johnny, oh, that's what happens to them when you tell the truth. Meaning, as they continued to go and point out, the Biden administration. So now you sit there, who earlier today said that to me, the Biden administration, Harris administration can do no wrong. What do you think I said in return?
Yeah.
I went and said, well, wait a minute. Ron DeSantis stood in my driveway and told me I would get help. That was 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard from anybody since. Which one do you think got shut down and was told, we don't talk about politics here? After I tried to point out then and go, your buddy just talked about Biden and you were okay with that. Yeah. I'm going to tell the truth as opposed to him lying. Well, that blew up. Maybe or maybe not. I said a few F words back and forth at the guy. And needless to say, I'm free Tuesday and Thursday afternoons now. Because I don't, and my point about that is I don't put up with the hypocrisy. Like you were saying about how these people can't explain. Like, dude, you told me, a political guy, that we don't talk politics in your podcasting and broadcasting chat room. And I respected that.
But someone else jumps in and you don't shut them down. Yeah, I agree. That's what bothers me. Is
I can at least push back that little bit without you shutting me down right away.
I'm fine with that. I think that can be.
And so I said, you know what? I don't need it. I'm not going to sit there in your little circle jerk and kiss your ass. So you have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm dealing with all the time, is because to me, everything has gotten so politicized. Like we politicize every single thing now. Hurricane response, even though there's at least a government thing there. So like whatever, there's at least a shred of a reason we should talk about it politically. Although I just don't think in the moment you should. I think that it's better to be like, let's look at what happened and judge it, a little further down the line. I just think that's fair to everyone. Let's let people do what they need to do right now. I don't think FEMA or governors or Joe Biden, frankly, should have to deal with the politics of the hurricanes right now. I think that we should let them do their response, then we'll judge it. But this is happening on everything. It's like now you can't be an athlete in a post-game interview without getting asked about what some stupid thing means politically. And I just think that we've made politics the center of our lives, and it never should be. I'm a political junkie for this kind of stuff, but I don't think it's healthy it's not the thing that like
I'm going to
decide if I'm going to have a good day or not. It's just not like, and it never will be, because it's not. I think it's important to pay attention to it. I think it's our civic duty as citizens to pay attention to it. I also think it's totally valuable if a citizen goes, you know what? I think it's all so rotten that I don't want to do it. I think that's also fine. That can be the way you participate as an American citizen. But what I don't like is that so much of Republican and Democratic politics stuff now has become almost a religion and a team sport of sort, where it's always like vilifying the other side, no matter what. Everything we got to look through a lens of how can we use this hurricane to hurt Democrats, or how can we use this hurricane to hurt Republicans? And it doesn't matter what the thing is. Like I said, hurricane response, at least there is a government certainly is very integral to that hurricane response and prep and stuff. So I'm not saying it's not justified in some way, but we're doing that with everything. We're doing it with everything that happens in the news. And I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think that it is making our politics better. So I agree with you. It's just like, if you're going to say we're not going to politicize this, but then you let one side do it, everyone just has real trouble being honest about their bias, which is why mine's called the homeless conservative. When people are like, well, obviously, I'm like, yeah, the bias is right there in the title. I'm saying out loud that I'm a conservative. Like, I'm telling you right now, but I also want to use that as a way to say,
popular belief, I am conservative too, bitch.
but it's so stupid to me when people pretend that there's not a bias in any media. I just think when people think everyone's down the middle, it's crazy. It's just not happening now.
Large group down the middle, hence the name of my show. But that doesn't mean those of us who are down the middle or up the middle.
Yeah. But to me, it's like, look at the CBS. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we are so on the same things. And that's the point.
Right. And it's just like, be honest about
it. Republicans, 37% of Republicans are pro-choice. And this is one I've used for over a year now because I've had it on that episode. 37% of Republicans are pro-choice.
Now that stat is a little bit skewed because they're just saying it should be allowed at some point. There's actually not that many that think it should just be at all points in a pregnancy. They're not like actually pro-Roe.
But is any of that the Republican platform?
Well, it sort of is now. I mean, Donald Trump is as pro-choice as
because he has to be.
Well, right, but my point is,
until he gets elected, and uses his justices that are already there and goes full-fledged on a national ban.
I don't think he will. I think I don't believe that he would do that because I think he cares more about being popular than he does about. He does no ideals there, so I don't see any situation where if Trump wins, the pro-life movement is actually set back quite a bit. I think if Trump wins, because the Republican Party there will be no pro-life party anymore because Donald Trump has already transformed the Republican Party into a pro-choice party just by him being at the top of the ticket and saying, I will, being so adamant about saying, I will veto a national ban. And keep in mind, it won't happen anyway, because there's no way that you'll have enough of a House or Senate map that makes it work for Democrats or Republicans to pass anything about abortion in this next term. It's not going to happen no matter who the president is. That would be a better solution. That would be a better answer, honestly. J.D. Vance's answer was better on that than Donald Trump's was, because it was kind of like Nikki Haley's in the sense, it's not going to happen. Like you're talking about, the Senate is going to be like a 51-49 Senate. You can't pass that kind of bill. Now, Democrats, to be fair, have talked about getting rid of the filibuster for it. So there is a chance that if Democrats took the Senate and they really wanted to nuke it, I find it hard to believe that there aren't a couple of Democrats that would go along with that because they realize they would lose their seat.
I would love nothing more in congressional procedures than to see the filibuster become a permanent thing of history.
You mean for it to exist or not exist?
Go away altogether.
Oh, let's talk about that sometime then, because I vehemently disagree with that. I think it's the only thing keeping us from being insane right now.
Sitting there and watching some asshat allow his intern to read to you names from the phone book.
The intern can't do it. It's got to be the senator. And I'm talking about the 60 vote rule should still be there. Are you saying you want that to go away? I mean, we can't start this discussion right now. I really do have to, but we should talk about that sometime. I think the 60 vote minimum is actually the only thing keeping us from.
You have a debate. You have a debate and then you vote.
But you think the 60 vote thing should still exist?
You mean saying that 60 vote thing as to what?
That's the threshold you have to do to pass most stuff. That's what I'm talking about with the filibuster. No. I'm saying I don't think you should be able to pass stuff in the Senate 50 plus the vice president vote, or 51 votes. I think that
51 to 50 passes, the end.
No, I disagree. I think that's the reason I think the Senate
is only one level. What? It's only one level. It's not the entire Congress. We're not talking about adding an amendment.
Right, but the Congress is already the House is that one that you only need one vote. I like the Senate having to bring stuff that brings more, like if you're a 50-50 Senate, you've got to get 10 people from the other side to go along with it. To me, that's the only way you're going to get compromise and you're going to get good legislation. If 50 plus 1 can win every issue and write every law.
Sell me on that. You might be able to sell me on that.
Yeah, but that's my point.
It's become so relevant 16 times. over the past 3 years.
But I think the Senate becomes complete. That's why the House gets a lot of crap, is because it's so partisan. I do not want the Senate to be completely partisan. I think we're going to be in a situation where the Senate's going to be 50-50 for a while, unless one of the parties get their crap together and figures out how to govern in a way that starts getting them large majorities. You're not going to have, I don't foresee anything happening in the next few years where you're going to have 50-seat majorities in the House and 10-seat majorities in the Senate. I just don't see any way that that's happening in the near future, as divided as the country is. So I like the idea that in the Senate, you have to get some buy-in from the other parties.
I do see the Democrats, maybe even in this election, I do see the Democrats winning both sides.
I don't think they got almost no chance in the Senate. I think they could win the House. The House is basically a coin flip like everything else. I think the House...
I think they got a better chance in the Senate.
I don't think so. I think the House will go to whoever wins the presidency, is what the smart people I read say. Keep in mind, I'm not a smart person here.
No, I agree with that.
I think that's right. And that's across the board. Politico, 538, Real Clear Politics, almost all of them say the same thing. The House will go the way of whoever wins the presidency, but almost no one is saying that the Democrats would have to pull off an upset in Nebraska. The 180,000 people, if you go by 2020 numbers, would have to vote for Donald Trump.
I think they're already close enough in Texas and Florida.
I don't think so. I think
even if that is nothing more than an indicator as to what's going to happen in 2 years. But I say during this next presidential administration, this first term of this next presidential administration, at some point, if not right away, then at the midterm, they will have all three.
Well, at the midterm, that's a totally different thing. I think
but that's when they usually lose it.
Right, but I'm not making a prediction for the midterm because we don't even know who won. I'm saying I do not see any way.
I'm telling you it's going to be Kamala.
Okay, let's take.
I'm almost. I said this before. I said she was going to win decisively, and Matt quietly, after you left the one day, agreed with me. And
Can we bet a pizza on it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bet a pizza that the Republicans will have the Senate.
No, we're talking about the White House or the Senate?
Just talking about the Senate.
Okay.
Only the Senate.
Because I actually think it's going to be in this one that it's going to be the sweep.
Okay, we'll do a bet for a pizza, and I will buy you a pizza. If Democrats take the Senate, I'll buy you one. If Republicans take it, you got to buy me a pizza.
Yeah, and this is just on the Senate.
Just the Senate. Because I think the other two are way too much of a toss-up. I think it's the map for Republicans. They only have to pick up one seat. That's all they have to do in the Senate to have a majority. And I think that most of the bluster about Nebraska and Texas and Florida is just coming from Democratic
at risk of losing too.
The what?
I really think they're at risk of losing too.
But even if they lost two, they're in position to gain two, and so you'd have 50-50 split, and it would go to whoever wins. Okay, let's say this. I'm saying win. I'm saying 51.
We can just leave it at the Senate for now. But what I'm saying is because of the fact that I think they're stronger than what they're being made out to be in some of the other contested areas.
Right, but all I'm saying is for
I say that because we're even talking about Florida and Texas.
Yeah, but I don't think we're really talking about Florida, Texas. I think Democratic operatives are talking about Florida, Texas. And when you look at the numbers, they're close, but they're not.
I'm getting emails. I'm getting some really scared emails from both Rick Scott and Ted Cruz.
No,
they were not sending 6 months ago.
I believe they're nervous, but I also don't believe that. You look at the history, it almost never happens that a senator wins a race in the same year that the president doesn't take that state, if that makes sense. So if Trump is,
I don't think they're going to take the state either.
You don't think Trump's going to win Nebraska?
No, I'm not talking about Nebraska. I'm talking about.
I know, but that's one of them that Democrats are talking about that they think they can flip. And I'm saying I think he's going to win.
And
Trump's
you know what?
Going to win Texas and Florida for sure.
They're talking about Nebraska.
It's because of that one district. Yeah.
Exactly. It's because Nebraska is one of two states that's not a winner take all.
But that's not the only reason they're talking about it. They're talking about because they're saying Osborne,
looking at a lot of mathematics.
Fisher.
They're looking at a lot of mathematics, and they're not looking at a lot of other things like I've been telling you to look at.
Right, but 180,000 people would have to vote for Donald Trump and then also vote for not the Republican senator. And I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they're going to vote for Donald Trump either.
Here in Nebraska, I think they're going to. And I think in Florida and Texas, they will too. I think all three of them, Trump will win. So here's the bet for clarification. If it's 50-50 tie, if it's 50-50 tie in the Senate, neither one of us win the bet. Because I'm saying it's going to be 51 Republicans. You're saying it's going to be 51 Democrats. A 50-50 tie doesn't count because that's not a win. Does that make sense?
No, because you got the White House.
Right. But
president.
I know, but that's why I'm saying I am betting that 51 votes. And I'm saying for me to accept that bet with you, no one wins if it's a 50-50 thing, because I think there is a chance it's 50-50. I just think it's a better chance that Republicans will actually win it 51-50. But I'm saying there's no chance Democrats are going to be 51-49. I just don't think that they're going to lose West Virginia for sure. They would have to win. They'd have to win Montana and Texas, Florida, or Nebraska. And I don't see that happening. Or there's going to be some other upset somewhere else, which I just don't like. There's nothing that I see that shows that happening. So we'll bet a pizza. We'll see what happens. I do have to run.
All right. Yeah, same here.
All right. Adios. See you in a couple weeks.
Trip. I will see you in 2 weeks. I will see everybody else on Monday when God hope we return to some network besides Atlanta. But yeah. And I think by then I'll have at least one camera back. We'll see what we can bring up. 99.1, 1490. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and hopefully we'll be bringing in Vegas next week, and still the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. It's been fun, as always. Hopefully everybody is in the process of recuperating, recovering, cleaning up, and realizing that it is still a good day to be alive. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. There it is. Boom. All right, everybody.
listens for 18 minutes. The average fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes.
How can that be?
Answer most commonly given. I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate
Yergs? Good point. The average hater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
Look, but if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.